Since 1983, Nissan has been building award-winning vehicles right here in America. And this summer, they're making it easier to drive one home. No new tariffs, just lower MSRPs on the Rogue and Pathfinder. So you can get the car you want at the price that feels right. But don't wait. These deals are only here for a limited time and while supplies last. See why Nissan is #1 for new vehicle quality among mainstream brands. Learn more at nissanusa.com. For JD Power 2025 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
We all deserve some yay in our day. So say hello to Hello. Hello makes oral and personal care products that add wonder to your routine, like a toothpaste that makes brushing fun for kids. It's called Unicorn Sparkle Toothpaste. It tastes like rainbows and sunshine, works brilliantly, and it's fun. So it's pretty much magic. And for the adults, Hello Anti-Plaque and Whitening Toothpaste, which is just as good, without the unicorns. Visit HelloProducts.com and let Hello add some everyday yay into your life.
Lowe's knows how to help make your home holiday ready for less. Get Select Style Selections vinyl flooring for just $1.99 per square foot and have it installed before the festivities begin. Our team can help you every step of the way. See a Lowe's Red Vest associate or visit Lowe's.com/holiday install to get started. Lowe's, we help, you save. Basic install only. Date restrictions apply. Subject to availability. Installed by independent contractors. See associate for details. Contiguous U.S. only.
Well, now that summer is wrapping up and fall is approaching, it's the perfect time to enjoy some nature.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look at the beautiful trees. And, yeah. But what about that over there?
And the beautiful trees.
Yeah. So over there, though, is slightly different.
Well, maybe. If you consider, oh,
what's that?
Join us.
Oh, no.
Well, wait, hold on. What?
Join us.
Oh, no.
Rachel, you need to just calm down for a second, okay?
I'm really freaked out.
Don't panic.
Yeah.
Okay. What are you trying to get us to join?
A timeshare.
Oh, no, that's worse.
This podcast is about why horror scares us. What deep, dark, secret, scary cinema shines a light on. The discussions are frank and involve conversations about abuse, trauma, and mental health. There are also spoilers, so keep that in mind too. Now, sharpen your machetes and straight razors, because this is Cutting Deep into Horror.
Welcome back to Cutting Deep into Horror. I'm your host, Enrique Couto, here with my co-host in the woods tonight, Rachel Rodolfi. Rachel, how are you?
I'm spooked.
Yeah.
Definitely getting spooked.
Well, this is the last Friday before October, I believe.
Yeah, I think it is.
Wait, no, I think I'm wrong. I might be wrong.
You're the one looking at a calendar.
I'm not looking at a calendar. I'm looking at a computer. There's a very big difference. This
coming up Friday's the 26th, which is the last Friday before October.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. You're right. Damn.
Yeah.
So much to do.
Time flies when you're having fun.
And tomorrow's Rosh Hashanah.
Congratulations.
I mean, I guess none of my Jewish friends are celebrating, so whatever.
Well, then what even is the point?
I know, right? I was ready to bring my matzo ball soup recipe in clutch, but then it's like, why even bother? So, but to get ready for spoopy season, which of course, I mean, I've been deep in the pit of getting ready for spoopy season for weeks and weeks and weeks now. But we decided to take a look at a classic horror film that I actually, believe it or not, and this may be a controversial opinion, I actually think Evil Dead is underrated as a horror film. Yeah, 1981's Evil Dead, written and directed by Sam Raimi. I think it was also written by Ivan Raimi, one of Sam's brothers. But I really think Evil Dead is even better of a horror movie than people sometimes give it. Because Evil Dead 2 was a much bigger film, big budget, big effects. It was just, it was all over the place. It was much funnier and much sillier. And then, of course, Army of Darkness, which most of my life, that was what people were most into, was Army of Darkness, which I like Army of Darkness. But unlike Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness would play on an afternoon, like on USA Network, because it's a kind of a silly, black humor, but mostly just humor, horror comedy thing. So, and nothing against that, by the way, nothing against Army of Darkness at all. I do enjoy it, but I enjoy the original Evil Dead quite a bit more.
Yeah.
From a horror movie standpoint. I think Evil Dead 2 has some pretty scary moments for sure, but it's just, it has so much of that slapstick in it that it just makes, I don't leave Evil Dead 2 feeling kind of uneasy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And since I was a young man watching Evil Dead, the original Evil Dead, I have felt uneasy.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I remember the first time I was afraid to rent Evil Dead because as a lifelong horror fan who had seen Nightmare on Elm Street when I was probably 5 years old. I'm not being cute. I mean it. I had seen Hellraiser around that time because I remember my first movie related nightmare was because I had seen a Hellraiser movie when I was very, very young. I used to see clips of, bits and pieces of all kinds of stuff because of Saturday Nightmares on USA at Night.
Oh, yeah.
So I was into horror movies. But one night when I think it was 11 or 12 years old, I was watching Shock Theater with Dr. Creep, and they would show, because they were on community access, they don't have commercials. So when they would take the break, before Creep would come back on, they would play TV spots and movie trailers for just cool shit and occasionally parody commercials or whatever. And then Creep's intros and yada, yada, yada. So I was just terrified when they played the Evil Dead trailer, because it's important to keep in mind that Evil Dead's trailer, especially the marketing of Evil Dead, was not like the most, the most fun you'll ever have being scared, which I believe was the tagline of Evil Dead 2. I think that was, but it wasn't like selling it as a horror comedy. It was called, do you know what the tagline on the poster was?
No,
because this is exciting to reveal to you then. And I want to make sure I get it exactly right. So let me make sure I put that down. Evil Dead original poster. I want to make sure I say it exactly the way it was. Okay, that's not in English. That doesn't help me at all. Very good, very good. So one of the taglines was the ultimate experience in grueling terror.
Ooh.
And as an adult looking back, that's an extra great tagline when you consider that it is a grueling movie in some ways.
Oh yeah.
It does make you earn it, you because you're going to sit through it and it's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
And so that was the way it was marketed. And the Evil Dead trailer was all of the scariest moments where Ash is alone in the cabin, and you hear these laughs in the night, and the and him like standing off with the low angle shots with the light, and him grabbing the chainsaw. That was the trailer. And then the ultimate experience in grueling terror, the Evil Dead. And I was like, I am so scared. I mean, I have to see it, but I am so scared. I was sincerely afraid to watch The Evil Dead, because on the little box in my bedroom, watching Dr. Creep host probably House of Exorcism, which was one of my favorite episodes of theirs, I was just, terrified. So eventually I did drag my happy butt over, I want to say, to the Hollywood Video, because I don't think my Blockbuster had VHS copies of movies that old anymore.
Yeah, it better have been Hollywood Video.
Oh yeah. You're still
It's
carrying
hot,
water for the company that.
I still got that chip on my shoulder.
People are still so confused when they find out that of the two of us, you're the one who worked at a video store, not me. But we'll talk about how you first saw Evil Dead right after this.
This is Rob Gronkowski
and Julian Edelman.
We invited some familiar friends to hang out with us at the Boston Nut House, thanks to Duncan. Here is a sneak peek at some of the fun.
Vince Wilfork.
Bill finally like, look, guys, just stop screwing around.
We are joined by Matthew Light, ladies and gentlemen.
Vrabes, and you're going to love him.
Will Campbell.
Not into eating hot dogs.
Having Ernie Adams come and teach you defense.
Being able to play the wide three techniques tackle.
Full episodes of Dudes on Dudes and Games with Names presented by Duncan. Tune into iHeart Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks to Duncan for a great time.
If you've been thinking about getting serious with your money, like actually serious, now's the time. The Motley Fool is offering new members 50% off their iconic stock recommendation service, Stock Advisor. This is the same service that's crushed the market with recommendations that have returned 1,057% since inception, compared to the S&P 500's 180% over that same period. This isn't guesswork. The Motley Fool has a track record of finding companies before they become household names. So if you want to invest smarter and you like saving money while doing it, go to fool.com/listen to claim your 50% off discount off a 1-year term of Stock Advisor. Again, that's fool.com/listen. Returns of 1,057% are from the Motley Fool's product Stock Advisor and measured against S&P 500 returns of 180% as of July 10th, 2025. Past performance is not an indicator of future results. All investing involves a risk of loss. Individual investment results may vary.
I've got Dan Morgan here on the pod. Say hi, Dan.
Hey, how's it going today?
It's going good, man. Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Dan Morgan. I'm an attorney and a managing partner at Morgan & Morgan, which is America's largest injury law firm.
That's pretty awesome. I think I saw a billboard of yours recently that said 20 billion won. 20 billion is an insane number.
Yeah, 20 billion recovered. It's actually, I think, somewhere north, probably closer to 22, 23 after this year. And each year we get bigger and badder and our army grows. So the number will hopefully keep getting bigger and bigger as time goes on.
Awesome. So how does someone get in contact with Morgan & Morgan? What would I do if I got into an accident?
Probably the easiest way is dialing pound law. That's pound 529 from your cell phone. We are always open. Our call center is always waiting to take your call. 24/7, 365.
Wow. Dan Morgan from Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Thanks for coming by the show.
Thanks for having me.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
So, Rachel, tell us a little bit about what the experience was with you watching the first time watching Evil Dead, and then maybe I'll come back to what happened when I actually sat down myself as a little kid and watched it. Now, had you seen Army of Darkness prior?
No, but everyone had told me as I was beginning my horror aficionado journey, everyone had told me that I would absolutely love Army of Darkness because of the campiness, because of the black humor, and especially because of the special effects in that one. Because I'm pretty big into stop motion and practical effects and puppets.
Not just because you're like a Renfest nerd?
That's in there too.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
So everyone had told me, Army of Darkness, you're going to love it. And when I had mentioned to you, like, hey, I'd really like to watch Army of Darkness, you're like, well, we can't start there.
No,
we have to start with the first one. So I believe we watched it one of the nights when we had like cleared out the living room and made a little like pillow fort in front of the TV.
Oh yeah.
And waited for it to get nice and dark and spooky outside. And when you put it on, again, it was the beginning of my horror journey. So it was wholly new to me. The way they set it up, the way they set up the haunted house in the woods. And
it's a cabin. But okay.
But the entire time I was fully entranced because that was shortly after we'd watched such staples as like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Nightmare on Elm Street. And I
Halloween.
think, we were getting through the Halloween movies, I feel, because we had to take that in steps.
Well, yeah, there's plenty of them.
But what really struck me is, aside from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I think does a very good job of this, Evil Dead was the first horror movie where I felt like not only did they capture the terror and the gore of what was going on, but also the sheer confusion. Mm-hmm. Because Ash, through like the first act into like the first half of the movie, Ash isn't just the reluctant hero. He is totally lost and oblivious as to what is going on.
Well, and I would also dare say Ash isn't really the reluctant hero in Evil Dead 1 at all.
No, not at all.
He's really just the last man standing in the first Evil Dead movie. He doesn't really whoop that much butt.
Yeah, he just survives.
Yeah, Scotty does most of the butt whooping until Scotty's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ash does just the bare minimum to survive.
Yeah.
And a side note, so I've been a massive nerd for Evil Dead movies in particular for a very long time. And when I watch them, you've heard me do it, I can't help but remember the commentary things because I've watched all of the films with commentary multiple times and multiple commentaries.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things about the Evil Dead 2 commentary is that Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell are on it together, and Sam keeps pointing out how I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but the woman who shows up, that it's her parents' cabin, the archaeologist woman, how she really does all of the action in Evil Dead 2 as far as killing deadites and saving everybody until she dies at the end. Spoiler alert. And he's and at first, like, he points it out a little bit, and Bruce goes, yeah, no, you're not wrong. And then Sam's like, yeah, I mean, why didn't we use her for the sequel? Why did we bother with you? And it's important to keep in mind that Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi have been best friends since, I believe, like junior high or even elementary school. And when they talk, Sam is always needling Bruce, which is extra funny because Bruce is the actor of the duo. And it goes even deeper because Sam Raimi is a writer-director. Bruce Campbell's an actor. Ivan Raimi, Sam's older brother, I believe, is a writer and producer who ended up working with Sam. And then Ted Raimi, I believe his younger brother, is a very well-known character actor. He's been in tons and tons of films. He has a pretty solid career in his own right, and not just from being in Sam Raimi movies, although that didn't hurt. And his voice is heard throughout all of the Evil Dead movies a ton. In fact, again, one of the commentaries, when a knight walks up all kind of goofy, like, what? They were like, that's Ted. Ted's in that suit. I just know because of the way he's walking. Like, so anyway, so it's important to keep in mind, like, because Bruce is like the actor of the group, he's got the biggest ego. That's just the way it has to be. It doesn't work any other way. You know, if you're an actor, you're like, everyone should look at me.
I mean, that's kind of why you get into acting.
Well, as to where when you're a director, you're like, I have the best ideas. I'm smart. So, we're all terrible. But yeah, so that was one of the jokes is they kept pointing out, like, you're not much of a hero in this actually at all.
Yeah. And that's another thing that the first time we watched it, I kind of noticed, but on this second rewatch, getting ready for the show, like, I've got more experience. I've seen more horror movies, and I do love how Evil Dead turns the final girl trope on its head, because at the end, Ash is the final guy. Mm-hmm. And again, he really doesn't whoop butt. He's not a big badass. Even like the classic one-liners that we kind of know and love Ash for is not heavily featured, heavily apparent.
It's barely in the first one, yeah.
Which makes, and we can possibly talk about this, later in the show, but it makes the character of Ash in The Evil Dead, makes him more believable, more relatable, but it also makes the character arc of Ash throughout the whole Evil Dead universe even more tragic.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the only thing I didn't love about getting all of the extra background from Ash vs. Evil Dead, the TV series, which I really enjoyed revisiting and completing finally, was I'd always kind of hoped in the back of my mind that the reason Ash became so wild and flippant and nuts was that he'd like been bashed in the head too many times in Evil Dead 1. I'm not kidding. I actually was always like, maybe that's why, because he did get like clocked in the head a bunch. Maybe he just kind of became id only. But then when you watch, like, they dive further back in, you find out he was always kind of like a rowdy troublemaker his whole life.
Yeah.
But which is fine. I mean, like, we're talking about a character that's been developed over the course of 3 massively successful in different ways feature films, because Army of Darkness was not massively successful at the box office, but it was a cult hit. It was massively successful on TV, and then 3 seasons, almost 30 some episodes of Ash versus Evil Dead. So that's a lot of lore building, for you to have. I mean, it's no Star Trek with 177 episodes per series for Next Gen, Voyager, and Deep Space Nine, but it's still a lot.
We can't all be Star Trek, okay?
Don't remind me. but yeah, so and also that final girl trope was barely a trope when they made the movie.
Yeah.
And it was just starting to hook in 83 when it had its nationwide theatrical run. That was just starting to click, because now we'd be about 3 Friday the 13ths in. Nightmare on Elm Street hadn't hit yet.
Yeah.
Which is why Evil Dead, they reference The Hills Have Eyes and not Nightmare on Elm Street. They referenced Nightmare on Elm Street in part 2.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention, because you pointed out the poster last night, and it finally caught my attention, because again, I've got more horror awareness. But then you and I started talking about how that kind of created a playful tete-a-tete between those directors.
Yeah, between Wes Craven of Nightmare on Elm Street and Sam Raimi. Yeah. So if I remember correctly, Wes started it, but not towards Sam, by putting a ripped up Jaws poster in a scene, if I'm remembering correctly, in one of his earlier movies. May have been Last House on the Left, or maybe it was Hills Have Eyes. So then he puts the ripped poster in Evil Dead. So then Wes Craven puts Evil Dead on the TV set in Nightmare on Elm Street. And then in Evil Dead 2, there's a Freddy Krueger glove in the basement.
It's just there.
Yeah. So, and then in, I think that was where it wrapped up. But then, other times that it's shown up, the Necronomicon Ex Mortis and the Kandarian dagger show up in Jason Goes to Hell.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which, I mean, that movie is a delightful mess. And much like myself. But we'll talk more about that right after this.
This is Rob Gronkowski
and Julian Edelman.
We invited some familiar friends to hang out with us at the Boston Nut House, thanks to Duncan. Here is a sneak peek at some of the fun.
Vince Wilfork.
Bill finally like, look, guys, just stop screwing around.
We are joined by Matthew Light, ladies and gentlemen.
Like Vrabes, and you're going to love him.
Will Campbell.
Not into eating hot dogs.
Having Ernie Adams come and teach you defense.
Being able to play the wide 3 technique tap.
Full episodes of Dudes on Dudes and Games with Names presented by Duncan. Tune into iHeart Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks to Duncan for a great time.
I've got Dan Morgan here on the pod. Say hi, Dan.
Hey, how's it going today?
It's going good, man. Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Dan Morgan. I'm an attorney and a managing partner at Morgan & Morgan, which is America's largest injury law firm.
That's pretty awesome. I think I saw a billboard of yours recently that said 20 billion won. 20 billion is an insane number.
Yeah, 20 billion recovered. It's actually, I think, somewhere north, probably closer to 22, 23 after this year. And each year we get bigger and badder and our army grows. So the number will hopefully keep getting bigger and bigger as time goes on.
Awesome. So how does someone get in contact with Morgan & Morgan? What would I do if I got into an accident?
Probably the easiest way is dialing pound law. That's pound 529 from your cell phone. We are always open. Our call center is always waiting to take your call. 24/7, 365.
Wow. Dan Morgan from Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Thanks for coming by the show.
Thanks for having me.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondersight comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wonderside's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wonderside today.
So when it comes to Ash, and this stood out to me especially last night, but when it comes to Ash, I mentioned that he kind of sort of falls into the reluctant hero, but that's not until further on in the franchise.
Oh yeah. Well, and they start establishing that he's almost like the butt of the joke of the movies, is that he is the greatest hero mankind has ever known.
And it's like, this is your hero?
And he's a total screw up. Yeah, he's like beyond a total screw up. Yeah, yeah.
So, there are, established tropes, and you and I have talked about like what an absolute horrible nerd I am, a Ren Fair nerd. So I'm very much into, like the hero's journey as laid out by Joseph Campbell. And so you have these tropes of like the chosen one. We could talk about like Neo. And
the Matrix is like it uses every all of those archetypes
to a T.
Yeah. No, I mean for real. But you know what else does? Because I don't want to make it sound like I'm crapping on the Matrix. You know what else does? Indiana Jones, Star Wars.
Star Wars is a huge one.
Die Hard.
Yeah.
So I just want to make it really clear that there's a reason it's such a popular system. Please continue.
Well, it's a popular system because it works so well.
Yeah.
And it's a great, you and I have talked about when you're writing, when you're being creative, don't think outside the box, think in the box. You want to know what your limitations are, and you want to know what kind of framework you're working with. And the hero's journey is very nice for that. Because you can go no, here's the beat, here is the refusal of the call, and then here's where the hero has to become the hero.
Well, I used to always say when people would say if you're using a beat sheet to guide where your story does this and that and this and that, then how creative is it really? And my response to them was, yeah, what an idiot, they put a bell on a telephone. Yeah, so you fucking answer it. Sorry, it gets your attention because the details are what matter the most.
Yes,
but having those beats that people identify with, that it's tried and true to keeping people's attention, that's the best thing ever.
Yeah,
other than a good poster and stuff. But so it always blows my mind when people get poo-pooey about a beat sheet, which is, for those who don't know, a beat sheet is literally, it says by page 10, this should be happening. By page 25, this should be happening. By page 44, this should be happening. The beat sheet is meant to help keep a movie balanced and keep an audience engaged.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't write the story for you. It just tells you when the story needs to land in certain ways.
Yeah.
And there are also large swaths in beat sheet of literally fun and games for 28 pages. So it ain't just the beat sheet that makes the story work. But that confine helps you hone the story and get outside of your own head about where those beats are going to be, by knowing no matter how much time I put into this, no matter how much it becomes my darling and I love it so much, I really should have this beat here.
Yes.
So
yes.
Anyway.
So what is cool about Evil Dead is, I mentioned how it turns the final girl trope on its head.
Mm-hmm.
And I've mentioned how Ash is kind of the reluctant hero, but not really until later. What is so cool about Evil Dead is how it follows the beats of specific stories, but it also breaks rules in very specific ways, such as Ash really never gets any enlightenment. He doesn't even really win at the end of the movie. He just survives.
Ash never one, it should be pointed out, Sam Raimi used to suggest that he hated Ash, and that was why the movies were the way they were. Because like that was the whole point, was like that he treated Ash like not an indifferent god, of a hateful god.
Hateful, vengeful god.
Well, so Evil Dead 1 ends again. I mean, you all know there's a spoiler. It came out in 83. Like,
if you haven't seen it by now.
Yeah. Oh, well, I did not say where you could see it though. I apologize. That is a cardinal sin. I just assume everybody's seen Evil Dead. So if you haven't seen Evil Dead, as we dig into some deeper spoilers, it is not available to stream anywhere totally free except Pluto TV, it appears. Pluto TV does have Evil Dead to stream for free. So, but you could also rent it on Amazon Prime, Google Play, Apple TV, and Fandango at home. I really recommend watching Evil Dead. But the end of Evil Dead is literally like he doesn't get away. The evil gets him, and it's open-ended.
Yeah.
But it ends right there.
Yeah.
On a kind of a down note. Not like a heavy down note, but pretty much a down note. Then Evil Dead 2 ends with literally he gets sucked through a vortex and ends up in medieval times, which he'd read about in the Necronomicon. So now he realizes he's the chosen one who will fall from the sky and deliver us from the Deadites, which is what the book says. When a guy literally yells that, "It's thee who comes from the sky, who shall deliver us from the Deadites." And he goes, no, because he's got to fight the Deadites even more.
Yeah.
And the funniest part is the way they realize that that's him is like a flying monster creature flies by and he kills it with his shotgun without hesitating. He's just like, screw that thing, haha. And then they're like, "You've come to save." He's like, no,
I didn't.
I just did that because I had to. Stop. But then literally Army of Darkness, which by the way, they did not want to name that movie Army of Darkness. They wanted to call it either Evil Dead 3 or The Medieval Dead.
Oh, I would have. The Medieval Dead.
Yeah. And Universal Studios, who did not believe in that movie much at all, they were like, no, we want to call it Army of Darkness. They wanted to distance themselves from literally what made it what people wanted.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Well, they spent a fortune on it, and like the leadership changed during the production, which happens a lot more than you might think.
Yeah.
But anyway, so in that one, though, literally he does everything right. He leads everyone to victory. He gets the girl. He does all of this badass stuff. And then he forgets the magic words to go home. A wizard, literally a Merlin type, tells him, all you have to do is say these words and you'll go home. And in the official theatrical cut, he's telling that story to actually Ted Raimi in the S-Mart that he works at. And he's like, yeah, so that's when you saved all the people in the, he's just like, yeah, cool. And then a Deadite shows up and he has to kill it. And he does all his cool, badass Ash stuff. But that suggests that because he didn't read the words right that time, because he messed it up earlier as well.
Yeah.
Which caused the evil to get even more powerful, that the Deadites are still around. But in the director's version, Ash has to has to do the words, and then he will slumber to his home time period.
Yeah.
Like he'll slumber without aging. So then he does the thing, he messes up the words, he goes to sleep, and he wakes up and he's got a beard and long hair, and the world has been destroyed, completely ruled over by Deadites. And literally last thing is, no, I slept too long. That was the original ending of Army of Darkness, Rachel.
Oh my God.
That was the original ending. So Ash was like, the more he becomes a hero, the bigger screw up he is too. Cause he's not that big of a screw up in the first Evil Dead.
No.
As we'll get to right after this. What just happened?
This is Rob Gronkowski
and Julian Edelman.
We invited some familiar friends to hang out with us at the Boston Nut House, thanks to Duncan. Here is a sneak peek at some of the fun.
Vince Wilfork.
Bill finally like, look, guys, just stop screwing around.
We are joined by Matthew Light, ladies and gentlemen.
Like Vrabes, you're going to love him.
Will Campbell.
Not into eating hot dogs.
Having Ernie Adams come and teach you defense.
Being able to play the wide three technique tap.
Full episodes of Dudes on Dudes and Games with Names presented by Duncan. Tune into iHeart Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks to Duncan for a great time.
I've got Dan Morgan here on the pod. Say hi, Dan.
Hey, how's it going today?
It's going good, man. Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Dan Morgan. I'm an attorney and a managing partner at Morgan & Morgan, which is America's largest injury law firm.
That's pretty awesome. I think I saw a billboard of yours recently that said 20 billion won. 20 billion is an insane number.
Yeah, 20 billion recovered. It's actually, I think, somewhere north, probably closer to 22, 23 after this year. And each year we get bigger and badder and our Army grows. So the number will hopefully keep getting bigger and bigger as time goes on.
Awesome. So how does someone get in contact with Morgan & Morgan? What would I do if I got into an accident?
Probably the easiest way is dialing pound law. That's pound 529 from your cell phone. We are always open. Our call center is always waiting to take your call. 24/7, 365.
Wow. Dan Morgan from Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Thanks for coming by the show.
Thanks for having me.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
If you've been thinking about getting serious with your money, like actually serious, now's the time. The Motley Fool is offering new members 50% off their iconic stock recommendation service, Stock Advisor. This is the same service that's crushed the market with recommendations that have returned 1,057% since inception, compared to the S&P 500's 180% over that same period. This isn't guesswork. The Motley Fool has a track record of finding companies before they become household names. So if you want to invest smarter and you like saving money while doing it, go to fool.com/listen to claim your 50% off discount off a 1-year term of Stock Advisor. Again, that's fool.com/listen. Returns of 1,057% are from the Motley Fool's product Stock Advisor and measured against S&P 500 returns of 180% as of July 10th, 2025. Past performance is not an indicator of future results. All investing involves a risk of loss. Individual investment results may vary.
So, yes, that was the original ending of Army of Darkness. And but really, when you look at Evil Dead and how Ash fights the Deadites, he doesn't fight them very hardcore. He really does what he has to do. But yeah, later in the movies, he just gets like cockier and dumber, which again leads into why my initial theory was head trauma.
Having watched the movies with you and watched the series, I think that's probably a pretty good fan theory.
Thank you. So beyond Ash in Evil Dead 1, because we'll try to hang close to Evil Dead 1.
Yeah.
So beyond Ash, what were your thoughts watching it for the first time? Because when I watched it for the first time in my bedroom on a VHS tape, I was very scared. It freaked me out. The makeup, the effects, the insanity of it all, how it did. Grueling is a really good word. It just kept going and going. Because that's the other thing to keep in mind. Evil Dead 1 and most of Evil Dead 2 is just a tormenting of Ash.
Yeah.
That's all it's about. You know, Army of Darkness isn't constant torment of Ash. There's only a couple of scenes like that. But Evil Dead 1, it's like by the halfway point, it's mostly tormenting Ash.
Yeah.
So it there you go, you know. But I just remembered finding it really scary, but I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed how much it freaked me out. And one thing about Evil Dead that I don't know, that is one of the reasons I'm willing to say that I think it's underratedly scary good, is actually some of the amateurish moments I think work in its favor very well, especially on VHS. I will say that this movie is not done a lot of favors by being like, we watched it on a 120-inch screen in HD. It doesn't do it a ton of favors. You see every single crack, every single edge, and there are a ton of them. I stopped pointing out like how many times you can see like the fingers going through the makeup and stuff because it's just constant. And they made this movie for basically nothing. The internet claims that it was made for $325,000. That is not the case. That is probably adjusted for inflation, but also the post-production funds that they probably raised after the fact, which were probably over $100,000. And that is not uncommon, especially back then. Blair Witch Project, which famously cost like $20,000 or some shit. They spent almost $200,000 getting the soundtrack okay for theatrical screenings back then. You got to remember this is the 90s.
Yeah.
So they couldn't just run it through, recording softwares and be like, cool.
Yeah.
You know,
they had to do all the work themselves.
A ton of stuff. They had to pay for it. So that's just another thing worth mentioning. But so I think that the fact that there are scenes where there's a demon, a person possessed by a deadite, and in the next shot, their makeup is different, or they're literally like their makeup is heavier and they're played by a different person now. I actually think that, especially on VHS, where like there wasn't a lot of detail, so you would really question it. You'd be like,
yeah.
Why do they look different? It actually adds to the kinetic and frenetic insanity of the idea that like Cheryl in the basement looks different between moments.
Yeah.
But always evil and crazy.
What happened to her eyes?
Oh, yeah. What happened to her eyes? But that's something that I think really does play to its favor, is the way that the continuity doesn't really hold for the makeup. I find it scarier, especially back then, because I didn't know if it was an accident or not, and I didn't care.
Yeah.
And some of them some of them were accidents, some of them were unintentional, because sometimes they literally just didn't have the person, so they just put, mostly Ted Raimi, in a heavy mask and be like, you're Cheryl now. You know, like they would do that. They would do that. So I think that adds a lot to that sense of kind of like insanity.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And you and I have had personal discussions, especially when we're watching Italian horror, about nightmare logic.
Yes.
And this is an American released movie that, because of how unpolished it is, because of the rough edges, it feels like it follows much more of a nightmare logic than, say, you know, even a Nightmare on Elm Street, which should follow a nightmare logic, but it
well, the whole movie isn't a nightmare, though.
Yeah.
There's very, slowly less clear delineations between reality and nightmares in Nightmare on Elm Street. But no, I get what you're saying. And no, but it does. It feels like a fever dream. It feels like it's just an absolute nightmare where things get worse and worse and worse. One of my favorite descriptions I've ever seen of Evil Dead, if I could find it real quick, was on Wikipedia. It says, 4 members of the group suffer from demonic possession, forcing the 5th member, Ash Williams, to survive an onslaught of increasingly gory mayhem.
Yeah.
That is such a great way to put it. Increasingly gory mayhem.
That's putting it lightly.
Yeah. Oh, and real quick, because I mentioned the budget, originally they raised about $90,000 all in from dentists and lawyers local in Michigan. And one of the last investors they had to bring on was to do what they call a film blow up. It's where you convert 16 millimeter film to 35 millimeter film so it can be projected in an average theater.
Uh-huh.
It's very expensive back then. It could be like 10, 20 grand, depending on how much work you had to do. And it was really important. And I love this story because Bruce Campbell talks about how they ended up coming up with the money because his dad had just gotten divorced and was kind of like depressed and just kind of doing whatever. And so he came to him, was just like, Dad, like, is there any way you could help us with this? He's like, I don't know. Like, he was like, Dad, but it's so important. Like, couldn't you do it? So his dad ended up like, so they went to the bank and his dad took a loan out on their like upper Peninsula of Michigan cabin.
Uh-huh.
He took a loan against it and did that. And it was funny because his dad was like, okay, whatever. And he was like, and Bruce was like, I literally felt bad because I was like taking advantage of my dad who was just like depressed and miserable, but we needed this to happen. And he's like, yeah. And then Dad wasn't so mad when we, as a pittance, we said we'd pay him back and we'd give him 3% of the movie.
Oh,
he was like, needless to say, my father has been depressed for a while. That was a lot of money. Evil Dead in the box office estimated at making almost $29.4 million.
God damn.
And unlike Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they didn't get heavily ripped off. So they saw most of that money.
Good.
Most of it. So, Wes Craven could say a lot more about Bob Shea than I could, but the guy who owned New Line Cinema. But we'll dive deeper into The Evil Dead right after this.
This is Rob Gronkowski
and Julian Edelman.
We invited some familiar friends to hang out with us at the Boston Nut House, thanks to Duncan. Here is a sneak peek at some of the fun.
Vince Wilfork.
Bill finally like, look, guys, Just stop screwing around.
We are joined by Matthew Light, ladies and gentlemen.
Like Vrabes, and you're going to love him.
Will Campbell.
Not into eating hot dogs.
Having Ernie Adams come in teach you defense.
Being able to play the wide three technique tap.
Full episodes of Dudes on Dudes and Games with Names presented by Duncan. Tune into iHeart Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks to Duncan for a great time.
I've got Dan Morgan here on the pod. Say hi, Dan.
Hey, how's it going today?
It's going good, man. Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Dan Morgan. I'm an attorney and a managing partner at Morgan & Morgan, which is America's largest injury law firm.
That's pretty awesome. I think I saw a billboard of yours recently that said 20 billion won. 20 billion is an insane number.
Yeah, 20 billion recovered. It's actually, I think, somewhere north, probably closer to 22, 23 after this year. And each year we get bigger and badder and our Army grows. So the number will hopefully keep getting bigger and bigger as time goes on.
Awesome. So how does someone get in contact with Morgan & Morgan? What would I do if I got into an accident?
Probably the easiest way is dialing pound law. That's pound 529 from your cell phone. We are always open. Our call center is always waiting to take your call. 24/7, 365.
Wow. Dan Morgan from Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Thanks for coming by the show.
Thanks for having me.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
So what I think was the scariest and kind of left the biggest impression to me when I first watched Evil Dead with you. It wasn't just Ash, and it wasn't just the carnage that he witnesses and partakes in with his friends. It was also, you know how much I love world building in movies, and it was that they gave us this glimpse, this little taste of a very, very awful, horrible, evil world, and all of the history around it, but not enough to settle any of the questions that we may have had, or at least that I had on my first watch. And that made it even scarier because the fear of the unknown is one of the big things that, I love in horror. And I feel like in other franchises that we had been watching at the time, it feels like the killer was at least well established. But with this, we don't know if the killer is just strictly the woods. Is it the woods are evil because of the evil around it? Or is the evil coming from elsewhere and infecting just the cabin and the area around it? This first movie really doesn't give us much to go off of other than there is evil and it's coming to get you. But it's coming to get you, especially when you're alone.
Well, you're forgetting, though, and the book summons it.
And the book summons it.
I mean, that's the biggest thing. Like,
yeah.
The evil's coming from all kinds of places because of the book.
Because of
reading from the book.
Yeah.
So I think that's worth mentioning. Because, I mean, it is fair to point out that, the opening of the film, and this is a great way to just jump right into the opening of the movie, it opens with a group of kids heading out into the wilderness to camp in a remote cabin in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And while they don't say it, it's pretty clear they're all from Michigan because half of them are wearing like Michigan State University sweaters and stuff like that. And they were in real life from Michigan. So.
Yeah.
And as they're making their drive, one of the first things we see before we even see them is the evil zooming around, which they filmed by creating a camera rig that was made out of 2x4s that would allow them to hold the camera down by their feet so they could run around. They call it the Ramo cam.
The Ramo cam.
And well, they made much more advanced Ramo cams later, but it allowed them to run around with the camera super low to the ground and get those kinds of things, the classic Evil Dead, running around thing. Ow. Hit my hand on the table. But so we see that. So we've established there's already evil out there, watching them and stuff. And then as they're driving along, they almost get into a car accident. There's some funny lines. We kind of get to know the characters. We realize that, we have Scotty and Shelley, who are a couple.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Ash or Ashley Williams, Ash with his girlfriend Linda. And then we have Cheryl, who is Ash's sister.
Mm-hmm.
And they're on their way. And I love the way they reveal Cheryl, by the way. They literally have a 2-shot of Ash and Linda talking, a wide angle 2-shot. And then at one point they just tilt over and show her. It makes her feel like a third wheel. Like you're like, oh, you're here too? Like,
yeah.
She really is. I mean, she's there with 2 couples to hang out. So they're just kind of, talking about kind of normal teenager stuff. I mean, they're all in college.
Mm-hmm.
Or starting college or whatever. And they're talking about, how'd you get the cabin so cheap? Which I do love. He's like, I don't know. I mean, it could be in really bad shape. and that's when they reveal Cheryl. Because then it pans out, she goes, none of you have seen it before.
Yeah.
And all I could think was, they drove down to Tennessee just to take a peek
scope it out and then drove all the way back.
Yeah. Or they were like, I'm going to send you $25. Go buy a Polaroid camera. Mail me
a picture.
Film. Yeah. So
things were wild before Airbnb.
They're still wild with Airbnb, but so they almost get run off the road, and there is a suggestion that something otherworldly could have been messing with their car, but it's very, very suggested. It's not pushed at all. So they make their way across this very nerve-wracking bridge, which goes over a cliff face so that they can get to the cabin, and they start driving through the woods. And they're getting deeper and deeper into the woods. It's a great shot. The camera's up high from the bed of a pickup truck, pointing downward to show them just entering the woods, and the woods becoming more and more of everything you can see.
Yeah.
Which is one of my favorite little moments in the whole film. And as they arrive at the cabin, it does feel a little devious. I mean, just the look of it for some reason. But houses are that way. Windows always look like eyes. We look for faces and everything.
Yeah. Pareidolia.
Pareidolia. So we look for eyes. We look for faces. But one of my favorite things is how subtle the idea that something's not right at that cabin. Because as they pull up, there's a porch. It's a swing, right?
It's a porch swing.
Is that? Oh, that's literally what they're called when they're a bench swing, or is it a porch swing?
I think it's a bench swing, or you can just call it a porch swing.
It's sitting there and it's bumping into the wall.
Yeah.
It's just bump. And then it stops.
Right as they get to the door frame.
Yeah. Like right as they touch it, it just bump. And it doesn't come back and hit. And I remember the first time I watched that being so creeped out by that.
Yeah.
That hit me like a sack of bricks.
Well, because the first time I watched it, I think I was under the impression that was like the start of a beat to the soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
And then as the camera pulled out, I was like, no, that's a sound effect. And that's very creepy and effective because my brain was primed for creepy music. And suddenly, no, it's just atmosphere, period. Very, very good.
Well, and later on, we have similar things. They do that with a clock where a clock is ticking and it just stops ticking. And I love that stuff. It puts you on edge and puts you out of the realm of what is normal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was some stuff that really established what's going on and what people would be expecting. So then as they enter the cabin, it's just kind of dusty and there's animal heads. It was an old hunting lodge. And in real life, it was a hunting lodge, by the way. In fact, if you want, Rachel, when we get back from this break, I'll give you the serious dirt on the cabin, because there is a lot of interesting stuff about the cabin in real life.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
So I'll do a hopefully a relatively simple rundown about the cabin where they shot Evil Dead in Morristown, Tennessee, right after this.
This is Rob Gronkowski
and Julian Edelman.
We invited some familiar friends to hang out with us at the Boston Nut House, thanks to Duncan. Here is a sneak peek at some of the fun.
Vince Wilfork.
Bill finally like, look, guys, just stop screwing around.
We are joined by Matthew Light, ladies and gentlemen.
Like Vrabes, you're going to love him.
Will Campbell.
Not into eating hot dogs.
Having Ernie Adams come and teach you defense.
Being able to play the wide three technique tackle.
Full episodes of Dudes on Dudes and Games with Names presented by Duncan. Tune into iHeart Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks to Duncan for a great time.
I've got Dan Morgan here on the pod. Say hi, Dan.
Hey, how's it going today?
It's going good, man. Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Dan Morgan. I'm an attorney and a managing partner at Morgan & Morgan, which is America's largest injury law firm.
That's pretty awesome. I think I saw a billboard of yours recently that said 20 billion won. 20 billion is an insane number.
Yeah, 20 billion recovered. It's actually, I think, somewhere north, probably closer to 22, 23 after this year. And each year we get bigger and badder and our Army grows. So the number will hopefully keep getting bigger and bigger as time goes on.
Awesome. So how does someone get in contact with Morgan & Morgan? What would I do if I got into an accident?
Probably the easiest way is dialing pound law. That's pound 529 from your cell phone. We are always open. Our call center is always waiting to take your call. 24/7, 365.
Wow. Dan Morgan from Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Thanks for coming by the show.
Thanks for having me.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
All right, so we're back and we're talking about Evil Dead, and I was teasing that I could share some really cool insight into the cabin in Morristown, Tennessee that they filmed at, because there is a lot of interesting stuff. It was originally, it had been most recently used as a hunting cabin, but it has a history, and I thought it would be fun to let you hear it from Sam Raimi's own mouth.
Ooh, yes.
So
please.
yeah, so we'll cue that up right now.
And it worked out very well. Finally, that locale. Tell the story of the cabin, the horror story.
This
the
is
horror story?
a hell of a thing.
Well, it's funny you should say that, John, because there is in fact a little known horror story that takes place in the cabin that we shot Evil Dead in. This cabin was built about 100 years ago, and the man who built it died maybe a week after he built the place. And it's located in this valley surrounded by these mountains that have an incredible amount of iron ore in them, so that during thunderstorms, most of the lightning bolts are attracted to this valley. So it's really an incredible thing to see when you're there during a storm. Well, no one lived in this cabin for the next 20 years, and it was probably around 1910 or so when a family of 3 moved into the place. A mother, daughter, and a grandmother. So really 3 generations of women. One night during a thunderstorm, this little girl woke up and she was scared by all the lightning happening around the cabin. So she ran into her mother's room, and pulling back the covers to climb into bed with her, she found that her mother was dead. Well, she was so frightened, she ran screaming into her grandmother's room, And somehow that same evening, she had died also during the night. And they still don't really know why both of these women would simultaneously die in this place. Well, the little girl ran out into the storm about 4 miles to the nearest farmhouse through this raging thunderstorm out through the night, and they found her screaming, banging on their doors, and they brought her inside and they got the story from her. Well, they took care of her after that, and no one lived in the cabin since. This woman, this older woman, during thunderstorms, after that, this younger woman who is now an older woman, but the little girl, Sally. It's really a scary story if you can get to the end of it. The people at the farmhouse raised this little girl. She had never been the same since, and during thunderstorms, she would oftentimes wander off from this cabin, and they would find her wandering around in the woods. And sometimes, well, here's where we come into the story. The Tennessee Film Commission said, yes, we've got this one cabin that's the cows have knocked down, it's full of dung, but you can use it. But it's haunted. We said, well, it sounds fun. So we went there. As we were shooting, the fella from this farm came by, and he told us the story of exactly what happened and how his folks had taken in this little girl who is now a very old woman, and that because there had been this thunderstorm the night before, he was looking for this woman because it's possible she had returned to this cabin. And as far as we know, they never found the woman while we were down there shooting, and she could still be roaming those woods around Morristown, Tennessee. The strangest part of the story is that a week after we left the cabin in Tennessee, as reported by the Tennessee Film Commission, a bolt of lightning hit the cabin and it burned to the ground.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That is from Sam Raimi's own mouth.
Whoa.
So that is, what are your first thoughts?
Honestly, I'm kind of wondering if the farm guy was like pulling their legs.
That is kind of ridiculous to think. No, why would a farm person lie when you have a perfectly good liar in Sam Raimi who made that entire story up? None of that was true. Not a lick of it. The cabin did burn down 2 or 3 years later.
Okay.
So he made that story up, and the best part is he didn't just tell it at random interviews. I don't know exactly where that interview came from originally. It was actually in the playbill for the premiere screening in Detroit of Evil Dead. It was written out, this whole horror ghost story. And the idea was just to spook people a little extra, I guess.
Yeah.
Because that scary story is really nothing like what you get, the kind of scary stuff you get from Evil Dead. It's much more of like a traditional creepy ghost story.
Mm-hmm.
He tells it masterfully, aside from when he starts to break for a second there. But I love it because it is total bullshit. And I didn't hear that ghost story until about a year ago. So I already knew the actual story of the cabin. So I was like, what the hell is he talking about? Like, I know people who've went and seen the foundation of that cabin. In reality, I don't know his name off the top of my head. It doesn't really matter. They had rented that cabin from a guy. It was his hunting cabin. He'd built it years and years ago. It was in pretty rough shape. And he was like, yeah, you can kind of do whatever you want with it. You just can't like burn it down or rip the walls all out. But you can do kind of whatever you want with it. It's fine. Because I'm either going to redo it or I'm going to tear it down and build a new one. So they filmed there. And the other funny thing is that one of the reasons I knew it was bullshit is when he said, when we left there, it burned down. They filmed that movie over the course of like 2 years. They would come down for like 3 or 4 days, and then they'd have to come back up, and they would do all their prep in Detroit. And they would also film like all the basement scenes were shot in Michigan, so they didn't have to be down there for it. They shot every scene with like Cheryl in the woods because she was one of their childhood friends.
Mm-hmm.
All the scenes where Ash was alone in the basement, especially, those were all, done in Detroit. But then, all the scenes where Ash was alone, that was just them coming down, because Bruce Campbell's their buddy and they're making a movie. So they didn't film like for 2 weeks straight or whatever. They came down again and again. Basically, they would either run out of money or run out of things to film with the amount of time they had allotted, because you'd only, how it is on a set, like you could film and film and film, but eventually you'll run out of things to film. You'll be like, oh, well, we don't have this prop or this location or this actor, so we can't keep filming.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. So in reality, what happened was they filmed there, they wrapped up. The guy ended up using it as a hunting lodge still, just kind of occasionally. And after Evil Dead came out, the word spread, because the other thing that is hilarious about this, he says the Tennessee Film Commission, he was never even on their radar. They were filming the movie in that cabin, and they were staying in a house over the hill behind it where there was a new housing development. They had a house they were renting there. I don't exactly know how they knew about the cabin or why they went to that part of Tennessee. That part I don't recall. But, things get around.
Yeah.
People kind of hear things. So they filmed at this cabin that was kind of in the middle of nowhere, but not really. Because one side faced out to basically nothing, but then there was a hill and then there was a town. Like, they weren't actually that far away. There were great stories about how they would go to the local general store and buy like all of the Caro syrup and food dye they had. And they'd be like, what are you guys doing out there? Baking a real big cake?
Sure.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, they just had to buy the stuff they
Yeah.
needed. So, but like, it wasn't a total secret they were making a movie there, because they did bring 10, 20 people sometimes were coming out there and staying at this house that I guess a friend of theirs lived there. So yeah, they were filming out there for a really long time, on and off. And you can kind of tell because especially Bruce Campbell, like, he does look a little older as time goes on in it. And then, the younger again, though, too. So yeah. But yeah, total bullshit. He made that up to spook people. I think he did a really good job. I think it was a super good, creepy story. But in reality, when word got out of where the cabin was, people started trying to visit. And apparently people were visiting, and the guy who owned it was getting really mad about it. And he'd put up like no trespassing signs, even put up things like, you may be shot, because it's private property of a hunter. And eventually the cabin burned down. And for years, people thought, oh, well, some kids were like partying out there and just like when it got out of hand or whatever. Well, after a while had passed, the owner admitted that he and his son went out there and burned it down because they didn't want people coming there because the woods are trapped.
Oh.
And they were afraid of somebody breaking a hand or an ankle or a toe and suing.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was literally an active hunting area, and they were trapping as well as hunting. So they burned it down, and it only sort of stopped people from coming, because now people still go to see the goddamn foundation, because that's how friggin' awesome Evil Dead is.
Yeah.
And how it refuses, ironically enough, to die. And we'll talk more about it after this.
This is Rob Gronkowski
and Julian Edelman.
We invited some familiar friends to hang out with us at the Boston Nut House, thanks to Duncan. Here is a sneak peek at some of the fun.
Vince Wilfork.
Bill finally like, look, guys, just stop screwing around.
We are joined by Matthew Light, ladies and gentlemen.
And Vrabes, and you're going to love him.
Will Campbell.
Not into eating hot dogs.
Having Ernie Adams come and teach you defense.
Being able to play the wide three technique tackle.
Full episodes of Dudes on Dudes and Games with Names presented by Duncan. Tune into iHeart Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks to Duncan for a great time.
I've got Dan Morgan here on the pod. Say hi, Dan.
Hey, how's it going today?
It's going good, man. Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Dan Morgan. I'm an attorney and a managing partner at Morgan & Morgan, which is America's largest injury law firm.
That's pretty awesome. I think I saw a billboard of yours recently that said 20 billion won. 20 billion is an insane number.
Yeah, 20 billion recovered. It's actually, I think, somewhere north, probably closer to 22, 23 after this year. And each year we get bigger and badder and our army grows. So the number will hopefully keep getting bigger and bigger as time goes on.
Awesome. So how does someone get in contact with Morgan & Morgan? What would I do if I got into an accident?
Probably the easiest way is dialing pound law. That's pound 529 from your cell phone. We are always open. Our call center is always waiting to take your call. 24/7, 365.
Wow. Dan Morgan from Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Thanks for coming by the show.
Thanks for having me.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
If you've been thinking about getting serious with your money, like actually serious, now's the time. The Motley Fool is offering new members 50% off their iconic stock recommendation service, Stock Advisor. This is the same service that's crushed the market with recommendations that have returned 1,057% since inception, compared to the S&P 500's 180% over that same period. This isn't guesswork. The Motley Fool has a track record of finding companies before they become household names. So if you want to invest smarter and you like saving money while doing it, go to fool.com/listen to claim your 50% off discount off a 1-year term of Stock Advisor. Again, that's fool.com/listen. Returns of 1,057% are from the Motley Fool's product Stock Advisor and measured against S&P 500 returns of 180% as of July 10th, 2025. Past performance is not an indicator of future results. All investing involves a risk of loss. Individual investment results may vary.
So the kids are at the cabin, the not haunted cabin.
Totally fine cabin.
Well, IRL, not haunted, just a place. And it's not the worst looking cabin, but it is rough. And if you've ever stayed at a legitimate hunting lodge, they're utilitarian.
Oh yeah.
Although it has running water, it has a bathroom.
It's got beds.
It's got beds. It's pretty decent. It's got a very big living room, a nice little common area. It's got a work shed to the side. There's a lot going on there.
It's a fireplace. That's nice.
Fireplace, which does not look up to code. I think they might have put that fireplace in themselves, the filmmakers. I mean, I don't recall for sure, but I think they might have, because
you should get Michelle on that, see if she can tell.
Yeah, I don't think that place would pass any kind of inspection. But
that's the sequel I want, is Michelle in The Evil Dead.
Yeah. These sockets are not supposed to drip human blood. Like, they really shouldn't be. They shouldn't be dripping any kind of blood, but human blood is particular trouble. So they're there. They're going to cook some food. They're going to hang out. They're going to have a great time. They're going to have some wholesome fun. You know, there's like I said, there's two couples, and then there's the third wheel, Cheryl. And one thing I noticed upon a rewatch, and God only knows how many times I've seen this movie, by the way. I mean, I've seen it. I really would watch it again and again. I remember how exciting it was when the DVD came out.
Ooh, yeah.
And I got the Book of the Dead edition, which I still have the book, which I'm lucky mine hasn't rotted, because they've started rotting, because they're made out of silicone, I think, or latex.
Oh, yeah.
And mine's signed by the ladies of the Evil Dead. The actress played Cheryl, the actress played Linda, and the actress played Shelley.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were doing a tour of calling themselves the Ladies of the Evil Dead in the early 2000s when it came out.
Oh, fun.
Also signed by Tom Sullivan, buddy of ours.
Oh, yeah,
Tom, who did the special effects and all the art on Evil Dead.
And is just such a sweet guy.
He is a hoot and a half. He's a great dude. And he really did a great job. And I want to point out, like, when I say like that a lot of times the makeup was messed up and stuff, they were kids.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really worth mentioning. They were kids.
Well, this is a movie that, if you're in filmmaking, it is a great example of what drive and moxie can really accomplish.
No, there's a lot of drive and moxie in it. So they're at this, they're hanging out at the cabin. Cheryl is drawing, which she was sketching in the car. And this is where we start to see something is not quite right. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I skipped ahead. Oh, no.
No, because that happens
first.
Yeah,
right.
that happens.
Because it foreshadows the book.
Yes.
So as she's drawing, all of a sudden she starts to go kind of crazy, and she draws an image of the Book of the Dead, which we'll discover in a short bit. But she basically draws like a very basic sketch, but not holding the pen like she's drawing. It's like she can't help but draw
like
it. She's holding it like a knife.
Mm-hmm.
And that sequence always like really freaked me out.
Yeah. Well, as an artist, it freaks me out. Like, especially because I start to connect with Cheryl a little bit.
Loser.
But there is, I can't even remember the term, but there's that whole idea in the paranormal investigation where, like, you can lose control and you'll start like writing or drawing things that the spirits want you to. And I thought that was a really great introduction to the fact that being alone or isolated almost guarantees that you're going to get possessed.
Yeah.
Because they haven't even like really summoned the evil. The evil's just kind of out there. And the moment she's alone is when it takes over. And she's very disturbed by it. Like, you can tell she wants to stop drawing and she can't stop.
Yes. And they have dinner. They do some other, one of my favorite things about this is how lame this party is. How they're like, we're going to party down. They're like having salads and hot dogs and drinking from paper cups. It's 5 of them.
It's a wild party. Wild party.
Hell of a party. But as they're getting ready to enjoy their night, the little latch to the cellar just kicks open, and it's just a flap in the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And they all run over and check it out, which is really cool how the camera like just kind of goes with them as they all go over there, go like, what the hell's going on there? So now we have a creepy basement that just is begging for some exploring.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I mean, you see a hole that goes down into complete and utter darkness. What's the first thing you want to do? Go down the hole.
Well, sure. I mean, there might be gourds down there.
I love gourds.
There were gourds down there. I don't know if you remember. They were hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah, I do remember.
Yeah. And I love the basement too, because Evil Dead has one thing truly in common with Night of the Living Dead, which is that the basement makes no sense for the house.
Yeah.
Because that basement's way too nice and way too big to have been dug for a cabin in the middle of nowhere. And if you watch Night of the Living Dead and you look closely when they're in the basement, when Cooper's down there with his kid and everything, it is gigantic. The stairs that go down to the basement are like, they're like 12 feet up. Like, it's really, really high up. Why would they go that far down? There's a meter, a power meter, and it's like 5 meters, or 3, because that was the basement of the office building that they were renting for their commercial production company. And it makes sense. It's huge. I actually, not trying to brag, I actually was in there one time. I got to go. That office building just sits mostly empty in downtown Pittsburgh. And me and my cousin, we didn't break in. We just walked up and the door was freaking unlocked. I mean, it's an office building. People are allowed to go in there and go up the elevator to like knock on office doors to do things.
Yeah, yeah.
And there are tenants, I assume, somewhere. But we just walked in and the door was open. So we went into the elevator and we just pressed basement and we went down to the basement. There was nobody using it currently. So in hindsight, like, as much as I'm like, that was kind of weird, in hindsight, I'm like, well, what were we going to do? Like, I mean, I guess we could have like defaced the property, but anybody could walk into any office building, go somewhere where nobody's standing and just mess it up. So we didn't do anything wrong.
Steal the copper wire.
I mean, we could have, but yeah, we just looked around. It was crazy because it looked very much like it did. It's clear that it had only been used for, occasional storage. We even found the 2x4 benches that had been built to hold film cans. They were still there. So we're talking, this would have been 2007 or something. So it was like still like 50, 60 years ago or something, like, or not quite that long, but yeah, because it was 1968 when they filmed it. So yeah, it was pretty wild. But yeah, the basement in Evil Dead, way too big, because in reality, I think it might have been Tom Sullivan. I don't think it was Tom Sullivan's mother's basement. I think it was a friend of Tom Sullivan's mother's basement. But it's a pretty cool basement, and as they start to walk into the basement, they discover some unspeakable evil that we'll talk about right after this.
This is Rob Gronkowski
and Julian Edelman.
We invited some familiar friends to hang out with us at the Boston Nut House, thanks to Duncan. Here is a sneak peek at some of the fun.
Vince Wilfork.
Bill finally like, look, guys, just stop screwing around.
We are joined by Matthew Light, ladies and gentlemen.
Like Vrabes, and you're going to love him.
Will Campbell.
Not into eating hot dogs.
Having Ernie Adams come and teach you defense.
Being able to play the wide 3 technique tackle.
Full episodes of Dudes on Dudes and Games with Names presented by Duncan. Tune into iHeart Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks to Duncan for a great time.
I've got Dan Morgan here on the pod. Say hi, Dan.
Hey, how's it going today?
It's going good, man. Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Dan Morgan. I'm an attorney and a managing partner at Morgan & Morgan, which is America's largest injury law firm.
That's pretty awesome. I think I saw a billboard of yours recently that said 20 billion won. 20 billion is an insane number.
Yeah, 20 billion recovered. It's actually, I think, somewhere north, probably closer to 22, 23 after this year. And each year we get bigger and badder and our army grows. So the number will hopefully keep getting bigger and bigger as time goes on.
Awesome. So how does someone get in contact with Morgan & Morgan? What would I do if I got into an accident?
Probably the easiest way is dialing pound law. That's pound 529 from your cell phone. We are always open. Our call center is always waiting to take your call. 24/7, 365.
Wow. Dan Morgan from Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Thanks for coming by the show.
Thanks for having me.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
So they're digging through the basement.
So they're digging through the basement.
Just repeat after me, huh? Okay, fine.
Well, you led me in. I'm just not good at picking up on my own. So this is where, I mean, the movie starts out tense, but I like that the basement scene really draws out that tension because Scotty goes down first, and there's several moments where we don't know what's happened to Scotty. We're kind of wondering, like, is the evil going to get him since he went down there on his own?
Well, and at this point, we don't even know how the evil manifests itself. We're not even aware that this is going to be demonic possession.
Yeah, all we know is, like, Cheryl just did something really weird and creepy.
Yeah.
And didn't seem to enjoy herself.
No. And there's more where that came from.
Ooh.
Hey.
So I like how it sets that up. And I also like the way that it highlights Scotty and Ash's characters as friends and also as individuals.
Yeah, well, because Scotty's a smartass and he likes to have fun.
Yeah,
and
so
Ash,
he's down there just hiding.
And Ash likes to have fun, but he's a little bit more reserved.
Yeah. So Scotty's playing a prank and kind of jumps out and scares Ash. And that's when they find the Necronomicon and a tape recorder, and they take it up. And while they're examining the Necronomicon, I believe Ash is the one who's actually looking through it, like thumbing through it.
I want to mention real quick, sorry. I want to make sure I got this right. So one thing about Evil Dead 1 is they don't call it the Necronomicon Ex Mortis.
That's correct.
Which they call it that in every other iteration. But in this one, it's Naturum Demonto, which sounds like Book of Demons, maybe. I'm not sure what... I'm not sure, like... So Naturo Demon... Like, when I look it up on Wikipedia, it just says Necronomicon.
Huh.
So I'm not sure which Necronomicon was, I think, an H.P. Lovecraft concept. So
yeah, it's Latin, and it roughly translates as Book of the Dead or the nature of demons.
Ah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes way more sense.
For whatever reason, they went with Necronomicon later on. It does have a ring to it, but originally in this one, they find the Naturum Demonto.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to mention that because that's a cool little bit of tidbit about this movie.
And it's fun because it shows the world building wasn't like set in stone. They very much through the series just kind of built it as they went along, which I think is fun. So yeah, they're looking through the Naturum Demonto, the Book of the Dead, and they start playing the recording on the tape recorder, and Cheryl almost instantly freaks out when she hears the guy's voice talking about he's found this book and this work that he's been doing. And she's, screaming, turn it off. And then as the recording goes, he starts reciting this incantation.
And it's all in Sumerian. Which I want to mention, too, is one of the reasons I love Evil Dead. I find that era, the concept of like, because ancient Egypt is cool, but like the idea of like that time period, the Sumerians and stuff, where there's nothing left of them. I mean, there are peoples who are vaguely of them, but there's nothing left of their culture other than relics. They're so far away from us, you know?
There's Ian Nasir jokes. We brought that back.
It's what?
Ian Nasir. It's a long thing. I'll tell you later.
Oh no, please don't. No, but my point is like, so I love the idea of like a Sumerian incantation. I love the idea that this is the Sumerian version of the Egyptian Book of the Dead.
Yeah.
I just love that concept, because the idea of like evils from so far back, you just don't even, way before the Old Testament.
Yeah.
Is what we're talking about. I always find that really fun. That's one of my favorite things about the opening of The Exorcist, is that they dig up that Pazuzu and everything, and there's like a whole tie-in to really ancient cultures.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, but yeah, so she hears Dr. Raymond Noby on the tape recorder. He's the guy who had obtained the Naturom de Monto, and is reading it. He's reading it out loud as part of his work to translate it.
Yes. And I think that's when he vaguely mentions like his wife, or maybe it's later on, they're playing the recording again and he mentions his wife. But that's when we start to see the evil isn't just ever present. It's now ramping up, because again, we go to the Ramo cam and it's honed in on them.
Yeah.
And it's following them to the cabin, not just being nearby, but to the cabin. And it really starts honing in on Cheryl.
Yes.
And this is, of course, kind of the sequence that sticks out in most people's minds. Cheryl's alone in a room. She's getting ready to take a shower, and she keeps hearing voices and stuff outside.
Join us.
So, like any reasonable person would do, she goes out in her bathrobe into the woods.
To see what the hell is,
to see what's going on.
Yeah. Well, she thinks they're playing a joke on.
Yeah, they think that she's being pranked, which again, we've set up.
She thinks she's being pranked.
Yes. She thinks that they are pranking her.
There we go.
What I'm trying to say.
I'm with you, yeah.
Which again, knowing that Scotty's a jokey prankster kind of guy, that he's really trying to like rile people up, that does make sense.
And he's pointed out multiple times that Cheryl is way too uptight.
Yeah. So he could have something out for her. So she goes out in the woods, and that's when the evil catches her, and it's using the trees. And it's a beautiful effect in the simplicity. And again, talking about like just drive and moxie can get you so much, because as the vines are curling up her legs, it's so effective, and it's the sound effects and everything, like it's scratchy and uncomfortable and tight, and it grabs her arms and her hands and it pins her down, and the evil has its way with her.
Yeah, it's one of the moments in Evil Dead that a lot of people kind of forget.
Mm-hmm.
If they've seen it. Well, I mean, no, they forget it because they've seen it like a lot, but not for a little while.
Yeah.
And they forget that the original Evil Dead really played for keeps pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
And the joke in the audio commentary, by the way, was Sam Raimi saying, and I forget, what was the moment when we lost 80% of our female audience? Right there. Okay.
There it is. There it is.
Was literally the joke you made on the first commentary I ever heard from it was that. So it is a rough scene, and the use of a ton of reverse motion in order to make the effects work doesn't just make the tree limbs move on their own. It also gives a dreamy sense of motion.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, that's a common filmmaking technique, is to film dreams backwards so that the motion doesn't feel natural. But they're using it in order to make things wrap around her neck and grab her arms and all this stuff. And after she's been violated by the trees, which, by the way, this is our first real hint at possession, because the trees are possessed. So what we're kind of seeing already is that the evil is permeating and taking over all the living things around, because the dirt wasn't coming after her, but the trees were.
Yes.
And the trees are alive with the sounds of music. So now she is running from the evil as the evil is chasing her down. She's heading straight to the front door of the cabin. She's trying to get the key, which is on top of the little ledge above the door. And we'll be right back to tell you what happens next. Or talk about it at least.
This is Rob Gronkowski
and Julian Edelman.
We invited some familiar friends to hang out with us at the Boston Nut House, thanks to Duncan. Here is a sneak peek at some of the fun.
Vince Wilfork.
Bill finally like, look, guys, just stop screwing around.
We are joined by Matthew Light, ladies and gentlemen.
Like Vrabes, and you're going to love him.
Will Campbell.
Not into eating hot dogs.
Having Ernie Adams come and teach you defense.
Being able to play the wide three technique tackle.
Full episodes of Dudes on Dudes and Games with Names presented by Duncan. Tune into iHeart Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks to Duncan for a great time.
I've got Dan Morgan here on the pod. Say hi, Dan.
Hey, how's it going today?
It's going good, man. Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Dan Morgan. I'm an attorney and a managing partner at Morgan & Morgan, which is America's largest injury law firm.
That's pretty awesome. I think I saw a billboard of yours recently that said 20 billion won. 20 billion is an insane number.
Yeah, 20 billion recovered. It's actually, I think, somewhere north, probably closer to 22, 23 after this year. And each year we get bigger and badder and our army grows. So the number will hopefully keep getting bigger and bigger as time goes on.
Awesome. So how does someone get in contact with Morgan & Morgan? What would I do if I got into an accident?
Probably the easiest way is dialing pound law. That's pound 529 from your cell phone. We are always open. Our call center is always waiting to take your call. 24/7, 365.
Wow. Dan Morgan from Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Thanks for coming by the show.
Thanks for having me.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wonderside's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wonderside today.
So as Cheryl is trying to get the key into the door and she's dropping it and she's struggling and she's looking back at the unseen evil that's coming toward her, we get one of the most effective jump scares in the film.
Yeah.
As she goes to grab the keys, she drops to the ground and Ash grabs her hand and pulls her into the cabin. And it's not only is it a solid jump scare, it also makes sense. She was pounding on the door and like yelling for help. But now Cheryl is standing in the little living room and she looks like she is stark raving mad. Because she kind of is.
Yeah.
And fair enough. And she's demanding to be taken into town. She wants to leave right now. They're like, what happened to you? What did that to you? And she's like, the woods. He's like, something in the woods did this to you? And it's one of my favorite moments. She goes, no, Ashley, the woods themselves. It's a really, really just blood chilling moment.
Yeah. Because she's being totally honest, but everyone thinks she's just stark raving mad. And that's one of the themes of the whole franchise, but especially this movie, is questioning reality. Because I mean, if you were all in their position, and someone came, running in from the woods and said, "Yeah, like the woods attacked me," and it was the woods themselves, you would think that they were utterly insane until other things happen, and then you would start to assume for a moment that you're insane. That's something that noticed on the second watch through.
Well, even the Evil Dead 1 and 2 have a long periods of like questioning of sanity, mostly when Ash is all alone.
Yes.
They do. And so she basically says, like, I want to go into town. Scotty's like, I'm not going into town for nothing. It's like, I don't know how late it is. Probably at least 11 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm.
So she demands Ash, and it's Ash's car that they drove up in. So Ash says, yeah, I'll take you into town. I guess you'll have to find somewhere to sleep there, I guess. So they get in the car, and this is some really solid storytelling, fun storytelling, because they get into the car and he goes to start the engine, and the engine won't start. And then she says, they won't let us leave, Ash. They won't let us leave. And then it starts. And he just kind of looks at her for a minute like, and then he backs them out of that driveway to get turned around. And you start to think, what is going on? Until they get to the bridge, or what's left of it.
Yeah.
And that rickety bridge that they punched a tire through has been ripped up, and the beams are like facing toward you, like almost like a claw.
Yeah.
They've been pulled completely back. Probably one of the most challenging things they had to do build wise.
Yeah.
Was building that destroyed bridge. Luckily it's the middle of the night, so they didn't have to show much of it because, it's too dark. But now they've realized that the bridge is gone. There is potentially no way to drive out of there.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to come back to the cabin. And now, of course, Cheryl is raving again.
Yeah.
Because she's like, it won't let us leave, Ash. It won't let us leave.
And he's trying to be a good supportive brother, but
sure.
also there is no calming her down at this point.
Yeah. That boat has sailed. That bringing her comfort. So they go back to the cabin, and it's just, what can you do? So they're
kind of sitting around biding their time, playing cards.
Yeah, exactly. So Cheryl's just kind of sitting, looking out the window, which I suppose makes sense.
Yeah.
Worrying about what's going to happen. And Ash starts listening to the tape player again, Professor Noby's tape, but with the earpiece in. He's not it's not broadcasting to everybody. And that's where he's learning about how his wife got possessed, and how he discovered that, according to the book, the only way to kill someone who is possessed is through the act of bodily dismemberment.
Mm-hmm.
And while that's happening, Linda and Shelley are not really playing cards so much as, this is a part that I love, but it always weirded me out. So Shelley is pulling cards and Linda is guessing the cards.
Yeah. Like a psychic test.
And she's guessing them wrong, all of them. And Shelley's telling her she's right. And I why Shelley is just fucking with Linda, I don't know. But it is very funny, especially in the context of the whole film. When you're done watching, you're like, that was a weird thing to happen. But it goes phenomenally into Cheryl, who's not even facing toward them, naming each suit of the cards. Jack of spades, Jack of diamonds,
Queen of hearts,
Queen of hearts, 8 of spades, 2 of spades. And she starts naming them faster than they can draw them, just right off of there. And then she turns and roars as we see our first full-blown Deadite, although I don't believe Deadite is said in the first film. Mm-hmm. That is what they become known as later on.
Yeah.
Is as Deadites. And she basically, in a raspy, supernatural, otherworldly voice, says that they disturbed their slumber. Who are you who have disturbed my slumber? I'll stop doing that. But
that is so much fun.
And then says that she's going to kill everyone, and she's levitating the whole time she's saying this, which, by the way, was done by using an old magician stage trick. It was
cool.
Literally a bar that would be usually stuck through a curtain, and they had stuck it through the window that had been broken early on in the movie. That's how they got her levitating. They literally used an old stage magic trick.
That's cool.
So she's, levitating there, saying that, and then she gets down on the ground falls down, grabs a pencil, and stabs Linda in the ankle in a moment that I have never watched that movie with anyone who didn't like really get uncomfortable seeing that stab. And it's right where you never want to be stabbed in the ankle. It's like right where the tendons meet.
Yeah.
It's really a nasty one.
Yeah. And the effects were so effective. That made sense. But the effects just really get you because she doesn't just stab and whoa, that's it. She stabs and she's like
pulls it back
and driving it in like it's nasty.
Yes.
And even as a moviegoer now, I can look at it and be like, that was a fake prosthetic, but boy, does it look gnarly.
It looks rough. And then after she's done stabbing Linda in the ankle, she flings Ash through the air and he rams into a shelf, one of many shelves he would hit into, and then the shelf falls on top of him, by the way. And Bruce Campbell as a young man was famous for being a physical comedian. That was like his favorite thing in the world. And they really play it up in Evil Dead 2. But here you notice how much he throws himself around. Very, very, very clearly he loves his physical humor. Luckily, Scott knocks Cheryl into the cellar.
Yeah.
Basically pummels her down with the shotgun and then locks the cellar door with chain. And from there, things start to get really freaky after this.
This is Rob Gronkowski
and Julian Edelman.
We invited some familiar friends to hang out with us at the Boston Nut House, thanks to Duncan. Here is a sneak peek at some of the fun.
Vince Wilfork.
Bill finally like, look, guys, just stop screwing around.
We are joined by Matthew Light, ladies and gentlemen.
Like Vrabes, and you're going to love him.
Will Campbell.
Not into eating hot dogs.
Having Ernie Adams come and teach you defense.
Being able to play the wide three technique tackle.
Full episodes of Dudes on Dudes and Games with Names presented by Duncan. Tune into iHeart Podcast or wherever you listen to your podcast. Thanks to Duncan for a great time.
I've got Dan Morgan here on the pod. Say hi, Dan.
Hey, how's it going today?
It's going good, man. Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Dan Morgan. I'm an attorney and a managing partner at Morgan & Morgan, which is America's largest injury law firm.
That's pretty awesome. I think I saw a billboard of yours recently that said 20 billion won. 20 billion is an insane number.
Yeah, 20 billion recovered. It's actually, I think, somewhere north, probably closer to 22, 23 after this year. And each year we get bigger and badder and our army grows. So the number will hopefully keep getting bigger and bigger as time goes on.
Awesome. So how does someone get in contact with Morgan & Morgan? What would I do if I got into an accident?
Probably the easiest way is dialing pound law. That's pound 529 from your cell phone. We are always open. Our call center is always waiting to take your call. 24/7, 365.
Wow. Dan Morgan from Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Thanks for coming by the show.
Thanks for having me.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wonderside's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wonderside today.
So one of my favorite elements of Cheryl in the basement is that the cellar door has to be sealed with a chain, which is just unusual.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose it makes sense, though, because why would you ever, in a normal circumstance, ever need to lock a cellar door from the outside?
Yeah.
You might need to, for whatever safety reason, lock yourself in the cellar. but you would never need to lock the cellar from the outside.
Yeah.
You know, so basically there are like metal hooks on the cellar door and a chain has been put through it. So the door is opening a good 1.5 to 2 inches.
Mm-hmm.
And that creates one of the most iconic images from the film, which is the deadite Cheryl staring through that crack in the door.
Yeah.
And it really is so friggin' memorable. You know, really,
super
really
effective.
Is. So I love that. And now we're dealing with a lot of shit.
A lot of fallout from all that.
Yeah, some kind of shit has hit some sort of fan, as I like to say. And so now Shelley goes to her room because she's freaked out by her eyes being gone, basically. Which, by the way, I mean, there's a couple of things worth mentioning about the actors in this movie and the things they put up with. This was before soft contact lenses.
Oh God, no.
So those sclera lenses they were wearing.
God, that's glass.
Sclera. You've worn sclera lenses, right? That cover or did you not wear ones that covered your whole eye?
No, I've never worn sclera lenses. I want to train myself to use them in case, as an actress, like I'm ever presented with that opportunity, I can be like, I'm good to go.
It's a whole different thing to put them in because they cover your whole eye. So for those who know, sclera contact lenses cover your eye in its entirety. They don't just cover the
iris.
The iris. They cover the whole thing. As to where if you're listening to this and you wear a contact lens wearer, you just cover your iris. So now imagine if you're a little older, and you don't even have to be that much older to have worn glass contact lenses, by the way, because a lot of people wore them well into the 90s and early 2000s because they were already used to them.
Yeah.
So they were fine with it. My mom wore them for a really long time because that was what she always wore. They were comfortable at that point.
Mm-hmm,
you know, she was used to them until she got those AccuViews, and then she was like, "Holy crap, this is amazing! It feels so much better." But yeah, so they're wearing sclera lenses made of glass that are completely opaque. So they are not just slightly blind; they are totally blind when they're wearing them. And there are moments, even Evil Dead 2, where when people jump up and go like, you can see them like reaching totally blind to grab people or whatever. And like their hands landing and then getting purchased. Like you're completely blind with those in. That's number one. Number two, worth mentioning, fog machines.
Oh.
So back then they were wax based. So the fog was literally like a type of smoke, of thin smoke. It wasn't vapor, which is what
we
fog
have
machines
now.
are. Yeah, because we use glycerin fog machines now. So it would make you cough. It could irritate your lungs. And that was one of the better options for fog because there were also, I wish I knew what they were called, but there were also these little cakes. They looked like little tiny cakes of a chemical that was colored. And you would literally carry it around in a hot skillet and wave it around, and it would let off this incredibly thick colored smoke, usually blue. And it was probably a little toxic. And actors that I know a couple of actors who've worked with it, and they said that like you'd blow your nose at the end of the night and it would be blue.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So yeah. So it wasn't fun being covered in, surrounded by that fog and stuff. You really couldn't breathe. And it didn't just feel like you couldn't breathe, which is how
you physically could not.
Yeah, because
breathe.
if anybody listening to this, and I'm sure a lot of you have gotten a fog machine for Halloween, that's the glycerin fog we're talking about. It's really not that bad. Like you feel like you should cough when it gets close to you. It doesn't actually make you cough. It's just not thick enough. It's not, it just doesn't have enough to it. So these actors are putting up with a lot on top of being, covered in Caro syrup and liquid latex. It's a hell of a ride. And honestly, it inspired a whole generation of filmmakers, myself included, who really like imagined and fantasized about for a long time doing that movie where like you're just covered in fake blood all day long, because we're making this ridiculous movie and it would dry and you would stick to things. I've played enough characters in enough horror movies for friends and stuff that I have experienced just about every unpleasantness you can have with fake blood. I think one of my favorites was they built not a fake torso, but they built like a portion of my torso so my guts could come out. and they put a flap of liquid latex on my waistband of my pants, to hold it there. And then they glue it down on the top, and then they're putting the guts around. And then right before action, they pour blood into that area. And immediately I realized that flap is just a funnel for fake blood directly into my underwear.
Lovely.
Yeah. When I stood up after laying in place for 20 or 30 minutes, I felt like I'd given myself a Brazilian wax. I just stood up and I heard a rip, and I was like, ow.
Oh no.
Yeah. It gets very sticky, and it dries and sets and gets even more sticky. So anyway, but back to the movie. So they're trying to figure out what to do about Cheryl being demonic. Shelley goes to her room because she's freaked out about it. And then we have another really great moment where the evil breaks through a window and we see Shelley scream. And now wonder what happened. She is now possessed as well.
Yeah.
And each one of them is different in how they act when they're possessed, by the way.
Yeah. And I like that.
Yeah. Especially, because it's really mostly the girls who are deadites. Scotty becomes one briefly, but you've got Cheryl, who is just this creature. And then Shelley is even more demented and violent. And
because she immediately goes on a rampage pretty much.
She just starts trying to rip faces off. And then when we get to Linda, we'll talk about how she's her type of demon is really strange and unsettling. But I lost my train of thought. She attacks Scott. But he throws her into the fireplace. That's right. And when he pulls out, she says, "Oh, thank you. I don't know what I would have done if I had to be in those hot coals burning my pretty flesh for a moment longer. You have beautiful skin. Let us have it." It's a great, just weird moment. And, so sure enough, kids, the way to solve this is Professor Nobi said, bodily dismemberment. And Ash is standing there with an axe, just scared. He's too scared to help. Scott grabs the axe and just chops up his high school sweetheart, who is a demon, for the record, but he chops her up.
Also, she's possessed.
Hey, wow. Hateful. But afterward, Scott is not okay.
No. Would you be?
Yes. No, but he's not okay, and he just doesn't know what to do, so he tells Ash, we're going to bury her.
Yeah.
Which seems like it's the only way he can think of to kind of normalize the circumstance. So they put her remains of her body in a white sheet, and they head out the front door, and things are not about to get much better after this.
This is Rob Gronkowski
and Julian Edelman.
We invited some familiar friends to hang out with us at the Boston Nut House, thanks to Duncan. Here is a sneak peek at some of the fun.
Vince Wilfork.
Bill finally look, guys, just stop screwing around.
We are joined by Matthew Light, ladies and gentlemen.
And Vrabes, and you're going to love him.
Will Campbell.
Not into eating hot dogs.
Having Ernie Adams come and teach you defense.
Being able to play the wide three technique tackle.
Full episodes of Dudes on Dudes and Games with Names presented by Duncan. Tune into iHeart Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks to Duncan for a great time.
I've got Dan Morgan here on the pod. Say hi, Dan.
Hey, how's it going today?
It's going good, man. Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Dan Morgan. I'm an attorney and a managing partner at Morgan & Morgan, which is America's largest injury law firm.
That's pretty awesome. I think I saw a billboard of yours recently that said 20 billion won. 20 billion is an insane number.
Yeah, 20 billion recovered. It's actually, I think, somewhere north, probably closer to 22, 23 after this year. And each year we get bigger and badder and our army grows. So the number will hopefully keep getting bigger and bigger as time goes on.
Awesome. So how does someone get in contact with Morgan & Morgan? What would I do if I got into an accident?
Probably the easiest way is dialing pound law. That's pound 529 from your cell phone. We are always open. Our call center is always waiting to take your call. 24/7, 365.
Wow. Dan Morgan from Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Thanks for coming by the show.
Thanks for having me.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Hello, my spookies. I know you love being scared, so you need to check out Found Footage, the series, a brand new horror anthology from the creators of Weekly Spooky and myself. Streaming free on Tubi, this series delivers 8 terrifying tales of murder, monsters, ghosts, and more. Featuring chilling stories from Dan Wilder, Shane Migliavacca, Tim Castle, and Joe Solmo. All episodes are produced by yours truly. It's the perfect binge for a spooky night in. So grab your snacks, turn off the lights, and prepare for a scare. Just head to Tubi.tv or download the Tubi app on your smartphone or television. Search Found Footage, the series, and start streaming, if you dare. So they've taken Shelley's dismembered corpse out to bury it. And oddly enough, it's pretty actually uneventful.
Yeah.
Which I think in hindsight, as I said that, like, haha, no, that makes perfect sense though, because you're expecting more crazy the moment they go outside. So none is actually pretty suspenseful.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of nerve wracking.
Well, that's the old joke is you want to hear the secret to good suspense? I'll tell you tomorrow.
That's a pretty good one. I always like the one, how do you keep an idiot in suspense?
How?
I'll tell you tomorrow. That's the one I always heard as a kid, usually in English. But no, I used to, that's something I've always wanted to put in a screenplay is somebody on their deathbed and their last words are like, come closer. How do you keep an idiot in suspense? How? And they just pass away. I've always wanted to do it, but not from like in a goofy way, like as a last statement of that character's who they are.
Yeah.
Not jokey. Like they legitimately, it's sad, but it's like they went out on their own terms kind of idea.
I love that. That's a very you idea.
Yeah. I've been working on that one for a while. So Scott decides after they get back inside, he's done being here.
Yeah.
And he's like, and while all this is going on, Linda is like in and out of consciousness from her leg injury, her foot injury. And woof. So Scott's like, we're going to hike out of here because there's got to be a trail or something. Like there has to be a way across the thing. It's just, we can't drive.
Yeah.
And he tells him like, it will be bad. And he's like, we got to go. And he's like, we can't take Linda.
Yeah. She can't walk like this.
And I love it. He goes, she's your girlfriend. You take care of her. And I love that. He's like, I don't give a shit about her. But then he does have that, I will say he says that stuff. And then he has that little moment where he goes, we'll send people back. Like, we're not just going to go. We're going to go and
get help.
So he's not like a total bastard. He's just really
fed up.
He's broke, you know. Yeah. I mean, like mentally, you can't be okay, you know. Which reminds me of Evil Dead. One of my favorite Evil Dead 2 lines when Ash is looking in the mirror and other Ash comes through the mirror and grabs him because he goes, I'm fine. He goes, we just carved up our girlfriend with a chainsaw. Does that sound fine? And because of my massive, deep affection for Evil Dead, not only as a movie, but as for how different it is from every other Evil Dead property, I have no problem remembering what's in 2 and what's in 1, but I totally don't blame anybody who's like, wait, was that in 1 or 2? Because they overlap a ton.
Yeah.
So, but because I'm obsessed with the fact that it's much less funny and it's much darker, I can quote it like, like scripture. So, woof. So Scotty comes back and he's been attacked by the trees and he's talking just like Cheryl.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting turn of events too. And of course, while all this is going on, Cheryl is half the time taunting and going crazy in that cellar. Yeah. And when she isn't, she's being dead quiet, like completely silent.
Yeah. Just staring.
Which is even worse.
Yeah.
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 So, but he tries to help Scotty, but Scotty is really hurt. His arms and legs are torn up. His face is torn up. And he tries to warn Ash, like the trees won't let him escape.
Mm-hmm.
And at that moment, Ash has a realization. How's Linda doing?
So Linda, well, at least she's, mildly conscious. If you could call demonic possession consciousness.
I would.
And she's one of the freakier deadites in this movie because, the other two are kind of what you would expect from a demonic possession. Very similar to Exorcist in a way where it's, bombastic and loud and deep voices and levitating and attacking people. Linda, her makeup makes her look almost like a doll or a clown, and they've really accentuated the smile lines of
She's
her
a baby
face.
doll.
She's a baby doll.
Yeah.
And she's just sitting there cackling in a high-pitched voice. And is she saying, like, you're never going to leave, or
we're gonna get you. We're gonna get
and this
you.
just sing-songy.
Not another peep. Time to go to sleep.
Which is super effective and super creepy.
Is it?
Maybe.
Okay,
Maybe.
fair.
Unless you're into that. Because of just this departure from what we expect out of demonic possession makes it even more unsettling, because you see that the evil is willing to take any shape it can and do anything it can just to mess with Ash.
Yes.
There's no rhyme or reason to it. It's literally just what will freak him out the most at this present moment. And again, when you get into the psychology of the characters in this movie, like, you've just killed your friend's girlfriend, dismembered her, and buried her. Your friend, got attacked by trees. Your sister got attacked by trees, and she's locked in the basement. And now your girlfriend, who got stabbed in the ankle, her face is totally different, and she's sitting there like a little baby doll, singing about how we're gonna get you. Like, you're gonna be super freaked out.
I mean, maybe you, but yeah.
So he grabs the Sumerian dagger.
Yes.
But he's not there yet. He's not the hero yet. He's not able to totally dismember her, like he knows is going to be able, like, to actually stop her
like
and
he
kill her.
suspects.
Like he suspects or hopes. Instead, he buries her.
Yeah, he digs a hole and he sticks her in there.
But that doesn't take.
No, and we'll talk about that more after this.
This is Rob Gronkowski
and Julian Edelman.
We invited some familiar friends to hang out with us at the Boston Nut House, thanks to Duncan. Here is a sneak peek at some of the fun.
Vince Wilfork.
Bill finally like, look, guys, just stop screwing around.
We are joined by Matthew Light, ladies and gentlemen.
And Vrabes, and you're going to love him.
Will Campbell.
Not into eating hot dogs.
Having Ernie Adams come and teach you defense.
Being able to play the wide three technique tap.
Full episodes of Dudes on Dudes and Games with Names presented by Duncan. Tune into iHeart Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks to Duncan for a great time.
I've got Dan Morgan here on the pod. Say hi, Dan.
Hey, how's it going today?
It's going good, man. Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Dan Morgan. I'm an attorney and a managing partner at Morgan & Morgan, which is America's largest injury law firm.
That's pretty awesome. I think I saw a billboard of yours recently that said 20 billion won. 20 billion is an insane number.
Yeah, 20 billion recovered. It's actually, I think, somewhere north, probably closer to 22, 23 after this year. And each year we get bigger and badder and our army grows. So the number will hopefully keep getting bigger and bigger as time goes on.
Awesome. So how does someone get in contact with Morgan & Morgan? What would I do if I got into an accident?
Probably the easiest way is dialing pound law. That's pound 529 from your cell phone. We are always open. Our call center is always waiting to take your call. 24/7, 365.
Wow. Dan Morgan from Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Thanks for coming by the show.
Thanks for having me.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Hey there, spookies. Think you've seen every creepy classic out there? Well, think again.
Popcorn Fodder, now streaming free on Tubi, is where I personally host deep dives into the shadows of horror film history. Join me in unearthing the weirdest, wildest, and most overlooked horror gems you've never seen, but definitely should. From murderous kids to sharks with an unrepentant appetite, Popcorn Fodder has it all. So grab your popcorn, dim the lights, and stream Popcorn Fodder on Tubi, if you dare. And join me for 8 terrifying films, completely free on Tubi. So, as you were saying, the burial doesn't quite go so good.
No. She claws her way back up, and there's another fight with her, and this is where Ash, again, he's not the reluctant hero, he's the reluctant survivor.
Yeah.
Because he's left with no other options. So he grabs the shovel and starts beating her back with it and then decapitates her with it.
Well, she leaps up in the air like some kind of trapeze artist. After like kind of goofily, he catches her, cuts her head off. The head falls like 7 or 8 feet away. The body lands right on top of him, starts spraying viscera all over his face. And then it starts kind of almost like humping him.
Yeah.
And then the severed head over there starts going, freaking scary, man.
Yeah.
In fact, the only thing that I laugh during that scene, because it is crazy, but the only thing I laugh during that scene about is at one point it cuts back to the head when it goes like, rah, and it's clearly somebody else. Like it's just clearly, and it just makes me chuckle a little because it's clearly like a guy or a woman with way more makeup on to try and hide the fact that it's not that actress. So that one always makes me chuckle a little bit, but like really effective stuff. And they were digging holes to put people under the dirt and stuff to get those effects to work the way they did.
Yeah.
So he's just decapitated her with a shovel, buried the parts again. And, you know what we totally forgot?
Huh.
When he doesn't, it's a small thing, but when he decides not to dismember her, it's with the chainsaw.
Oh, that's right.
Because in this one, we don't get any major chainsaw foo. It really, that comes in part 2. But we do, he goes to the work shed and he snaps her down to the table. But then the evil, turns her normal. She's still dead.
Yeah.
But like, she doesn't have the affectations that are terrifying
and everything.
So I just want to mention that because I totally forgot. Like, yeah, that was a really great moment too. Just seeing him with the chainsaw and everything. And then he just can't do it because he loves her. And this is something else I really care. I really love about this movie is they tried and to varying degrees succeeded in really telling a solid story with a love story, with friendship stories. They really, they didn't show any like insecurity about that. And I find that especially with filmmakers who are, and movies where there's a lot of effects and there is a bit of a gallows humor element, that they kind of chicken away from like the human points of storytelling that I think are so important. They won't have a love story where they play it for anything other than a laugh. Because early on, like there's a really adorable scene where he and Linda, where he's like pretending to be asleep and she looks at him. And then when she looks back at he has a little box, a gift for her. When she looks at the box, he opens his eyes and looks at her and then closes them right when she looks. It's actually really cute. And they recreate it when she's a corpse.
Oh yeah.
Where there's so much to talk about in this movie. I mean, and it's a very visual movie, so we can't describe every moment anyway, and who would want us to? We've already talked longer than the runtime of Evil Dead. So, but my point is they leaned into this idea. So when he goes to like chainsaw, they play that music cue that you hear when they were in love and spending time together.
And tender.
Yeah. It's really sweet and it's really important. And I think it's one of the things that helps set the movie apart. Even though it's a little silly, even though it's a little ridiculous, even though it's a little cheesy, who cares?
Yeah.
I really love it. But that necklace that he got her was the ugliest necklace possible, like known to man. But after Linda's decapitation, Ash heads back inside and discovers that while all this was going on, Cheryl has escaped the cellar.
Yay! Right.
That is not great news. And during that sequence, we see her like hitting it harder and harder as he's fighting with her until it breaks.
Yeah.
And she gets loose. So Cheryl is, of course, at first nowhere to be found. Then out of nowhere, she's choking Ash. He gets away from her, and she's outside the cabin.
Mm-hmm.
And he shoots her in the jaw. And at this point, she doesn't look anything like herself because she isn't. But that's what I'm talking about like the creepiness, though, that like she really doesn't look like the same person. She isn't. But, in the movie,
she is.
Yeah.
And that makes it so much creepier.
And I really think it works. So now Ash is trying to barricade the door to keep Cheryl out. And around that time, Scott, always known for a late arrival, becomes a Deadite himself and attacks Ash. So now all hell has truly broken loose.
Yeah.
Like that's just what's going on now. And he attacks Ash, and but he does something that pays off a little bit, which is he knocks the book over. The not Necronomicon,
the Naturum Demonto.
Demonto. He knocks it over and it lands near the fire, in the fireplace. And at that point, one of the biggest gross outs of the movie, Ash gouges Scotty's eyes out, which every time, even though you can kind of tell it's a fake head, it still like gets to you.
Yeah.
So he gouges his eyes out. He pulls a tree branch out of his stomach that had been sticking in there, and it starts spewing blood, like with the sound of like a faucet.
Yeah.
Which I actually find really effective because the Deadites are just ridiculous. I mean, they literally are ridiculous to the point of being scary, but they're ridiculous. They're outrageous. Everything about them is way far out.
Yeah.
So, Scott is like disabled from the eye gouge and the stomach stick being removed. And Cheryl finally busts through the door with her hands and grabs him, which is the other strongest jump scare in the whole film. I feel like it was him grabbing Cheryl's arm and Cheryl's hands punching through the door and grabbing him. And that just, that one always makes me jump, even though I know it's coming.
I jumped last night.
Yeah, I know. I was ready to snap next to your head or something if you didn't, to make sure you did.
Aw, you're so sweet.
I try. So now Ash is on the ground and Scott and Cheryl are attacking him. They're hitting him with fire pokers. The funniest part is they're not killing him.
They're just tormenting him.
They're taking their time. They're really enjoying their meal. And that's something also that sticks with me. Like they could have just stabbed him through the head or something, but no, they're whacking him with the fire poker. And as all this is happening, he has a little bit of a realization as he notices that the book has kind of come alive and is kind of signaling for help. And he realizes that he needs to get the book and get it into the fireplace.
Mm-hmm.
But how will he do it? And how could it be symbolic? We'll talk about that right after this.
This is Rob Gronkowski
and Julian Edelman.
We invited some familiar friends to hang out with us at the Boston Nut House, thanks to Duncan. Here is a sneak peek at some of the fun.
Vince Wilfork.
Bill finally like, look, guys, just stop screwing around.
We are joined by Matthew Light, ladies and gentlemen.
And Vrabes, and you're going to love him.
Will Campbell.
Not into eating hot dogs.
Having Ernie Adams come and teach you defense.
Being able to play the wide three technique tap.
Full episodes of Dudes on Dudes and Games with Names presented by Duncan. Tune into iHeart Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks to Duncan for a great time.
I've got Dan Morgan here on the pod. Say hi, Dan.
Hey, how's it going today?
It's going good, man. Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Dan Morgan. I'm an attorney and a managing partner at Morgan & Morgan, which is America's largest injury law firm.
That's pretty awesome. I think I saw a billboard of yours recently that said 20 billion won. 20 billion is an insane number.
Yeah, 20 billion recovered. It's actually, I think, somewhere north, probably closer to 22, 23 after this year. And each year we get bigger and badder and our army grows. So the number will hopefully keep getting bigger and bigger as time goes on.
Awesome. So how does someone get in contact with Morgan & Morgan? What would I do if I got into an accident?
Probably the easiest way is dialing pound law. That's pound 529 from your cell phone. We are always open. Our call center is always waiting to take your call. 24/7, 365.
Wow. Dan Morgan from Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Thanks for coming by the show.
Thanks for having me.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Hello, my spookies. I've got something very exciting to share with you. For the first time ever, Rob Field's brand new horror thriller, The April Fool, is available in a signed paperback edition. And not just signed by Rob himself, but also by yours truly, Enrique Couto. This chilling tale takes place in the infamous town of Strickfield, where every April Fool's Day, someone dies in the most brutal way imaginable. Now Ashley Gable is the next target, and the clock is ticking. This is a limited release, and it's only available at weeklyspooky.com/AprilFool. Books are in stock and shipping right now, so if you love supporting Weekly Spooky and you want a collector's item worth dying for, grab yours today. Again, that's weeklyspooky.com/AprilFool. Thank you so much for helping me keep the spooky alive. So, Ash needs to get the book and throw it back and throw it further into the fire. He takes the necklace he had given Linda, which is, it has a friggin' magnifying glass on it, it looks like. It is the ugliest damn thing. But he starts throwing it at the book and trying to hook it to catch it. I do want to mention, supposedly the reason that they ended up with that hideous necklace was in an earlier draft of the script, it was going to be used to use sunlight to like burn the book or something.
Okay.
Like, like melting.
So the magnifying
like,
glass.
As a magnifying glass.
Makes sense.
Like burning ants when you were a psychopathic child.
You maybe.
So, maybe. But no, but so one of my favorite things, he keeps throwing it and it won't hook the book, which honestly, like, how would it?
Yeah.
It's a long shot. But then as the Deadites grab him and pull him away, they reveal as he's being dragged away that it's hooked the book on the last throw, which I just think is such a great moment. So he throws the book right into the fireplace, and as the book burns, the Deadites, they just freeze in place, and it's the creepiest thing, and they start like twisting their heads and stuff, and you hear like cracking sounds, and then they start rotting in place.
Yeah.
And honestly, this is the part of the movie that I think really sets it apart, because it hits you with one more big wow before it's all over, of just these like stop motion animation of them like turning into like basically mold.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like goop is coming out of them, and then these hands burst out of their bodies like there's so much going on that's insanity. These giant arms come out of the corpses. One's laying on the ground, one's standing up. And the whole time that they're doing stuff, all it's really doing is splashing Ash with more gore the whole damn time. This movie was not granted an R rating, by the way. They refused to rate Evil Dead.
Oh, really?
Well, that happened a lot back then. There was no NC-17, so
there was,
they could technically issue you an X, but you could issue yourself an X, because the MPAA did not and still does not have a trademark on the X rating. Like they do the R rating, PG-13 rating, PG rating, G rating, and NC-17 rating.
Huh.
So anyway, so it was released unrated, which is challenging, because it means that most newspapers can't run your ads. There's a lot of stuff. So Evil Dead being a hit, a lot of that was, I'm pretty sure, word of mouth. But anyway, so yeah, they've just turned into these the arms coming. I mean, it's hard to describe it. They basically just kind of explode.
Yeah.
Eventually. But they take their time exploding. And I would love to know, like, what was going through your head the first time, or even this last time that you were watching the sequence when they start just like freaking out and dying, sort of.
I am always just so blown away. Because again, I'm a stop motion nerd, and just the amount of time and dedication it would take to get those shots. But again, the roughness works. They're not perfectly animated, and that makes it even more creepy and unsettling as they're like rotting in place.
Yeah.
And once the hands come out, I'm just like, "Wah!" Because it's super effective at not just, scaring you, jump scare, ooh, scary, but also establishing that the evil, even once you've defeated it, the evil is still there trying to get one up on you.
Yeah.
There is no truly defeating the evil. There's only staying it for a while, really.
Well, and I like that in a way, the evil basically just kind of, it's impossible to interpret the actions of the evil sometimes. And I kind of love that. Like the idea that like in the realm of the Deadites, it just makes perfect sense that like you start to rot and then giant arms come out of you and then you explode. That's just what happens.
Yeah.
Like, there you go.
That's what we do here.
But I like that because not only is that funny and absurd, but it's also, it's kind of scary because it's like, it doesn't make any sense. Doesn't matter if it makes sense to you.
Yeah. Doesn't have to make sense to you.
No. So now dawn has broke. The sun is rising. We're getting a sense of like hope in the music. Ash stumbles outside covered in blood, completely exhausted, night from hell and back. And then we see the unseen Ramo cam coming from far away, but this time it goes right up to the cabin. And earlier in the movie, we'd seen it go up to the cabin and give up, go away.
Mm-hmm.
And I still don't know. It's never really explained if maybe it was because the evil didn't have enough power yet to just punch right through the cabin, because it would go through the windows once or twice and it would, get into your mind, but it didn't like just manifest physically necessarily. It would knock trees around and things like that. Or if it was just because it was biding its time or because it's so evil that it plays with you. And that is something also worth mentioning, is they're supposed to be pure evil, and pure evil wouldn't just kill you. Pure evil would torment you and be, it would be beyond that. It would be a game. It would be fun.
Yeah.
It would be thorough. So, but this time it comes up through the back of the cabin. It just punches through the back door, punches through a door in the middle of the house, punches through the front door, gets right up to Bruce Campbell's face as he turns around. He screams, it cuts. And we didn't even talk about like when the light bulbs were bleeding, when the outlets and sockets were bleeding in the house, when it just started gushing, like the in the basement, the plumbing just started gushing blood all over him. This movie, there's so much to it. I just wanted to mention that as a side note, because so much happens. We see his face screaming, it cuts to black, and that's Evil Dead, man.
That's
it. Like
that's all she wrote.
Well, no, because there's Evil Dead too. But but no, and Evil Dead, that's why it's a fun movie, it's a scary movie, and why I do love that it is called the ultimate experience in grueling terror, because it is a grueling experience, not because it's boring or because it's repetitive, but because there's just more and more and more, and it's so creative, it's so thought out, and in some ways not, and I think it makes it work a ton better.
Yeah, I have to agree.
So I've always loved Evil Dead. I do think it's scary. Also, when you watch Evil Dead with me, the volume is up.
All the way up.
It's got to be way up, because when the movie's loud, it really works.
It really does.
It really, really does. I know they spent a fortune going to New York City to do the sound mix on Evil Dead because they wanted it to be very effective.
And boy, is it.
And boy, howdy is it. And after we get back from this very scary break, we'll give our final thoughts on Evil Dead and maybe tell you what we're covering next time on the show, right after this.
This is Rob Gronkowski
and Julian Edelman.
We invited some familiar friends to hang out with us at the Boston Nut House, thanks to Duncan. Here is a sneak peek at some of the fun.
Vince Wilfork.
Bill finally like, look, guys, Just stop screwing around.
We are joined by Matthew Light, ladies and gentlemen.
Like Vrabes, and you're going to love him.
Will Campbell.
Not into eating hot dogs.
Having Ernie Adams come and teach you defense.
Being able to play the wide three technique tackle.
Full episodes of Dudes on Dudes and Games with Names presented by Duncan. Tune into iHeart Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks to Duncan for a great time.
I've got Dan Morgan here on the pod. Say hi, Dan.
Hey, how's it going today?
It's going good, man. Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Dan Morgan. I'm an attorney and a managing partner at Morgan & Morgan, which is America's largest injury law firm.
That's pretty awesome. I think I saw a billboard of yours recently that said 20 billion won. 20 billion is an insane number.
Yeah, 20 billion recovered. It's actually, I think, somewhere north, probably closer to 22, 23 after this year. And each year we get bigger and badder and our Army grows. So the number will hopefully keep getting bigger and bigger as time goes on.
Awesome. So how does someone get in contact with Morgan & Morgan? What would I do if I got into an accident?
Probably the easiest way is dialing pound law. That's pound 529 from your cell phone. We are always open. Our call center is always waiting to take your call. 24/7, 365.
Wow. Dan Morgan from Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Thanks for coming by the show.
Thanks for having me.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
So, Rachel, do you have any other thoughts that you would like to share about Evil Dead, whether it be the first film or the entire run, just anything you want to kind of talk about or share? Because it's unlikely any other Evil Dead, although maybe Evil Dead, maybe the remake of Evil, I need to rewatch it with fresh eyes. But besides Evil Dead Rise and the Evil Dead remake, all the other Evil Dead movies and TV shows are, while still fun and scary to some extent, they are played for laughs. Mm-hmm. So they probably won't end up on the show because we only talk about this. We for those who are new to Cutting Deep, the whole point is to pick horror movies that scare fans of horror movies.
Yes.
So that makes it a little extra special because there are lots of horror movies I friggin' love, but the ones that go on this show are the ones that scare me and scare you. So with that said, I'm saying, if you have anything to say about Ash or the Evil Dead universe, now is probably the best possible time.
I mean, because we touched on it briefly toward the start of the show that we watched Ash versus the Evil Dead, and that is, as a show, it is much more in like the action adventure camp than it is like a pure horror camp.
Although
they do
I was
have
impressed
some,
how much scares they did pack in though.
They do a great job of really making the possession and the demons in the TV show as equally scary in its own way to the Evil Dead. But what I love about Evil Dead again is here's this group of fresh filmmakers and actors with a hope and a dream, and not even they had a plan, but all they really had was a few tools at their disposal and the inability to give up.
Yeah, no, they had to see it all the way through.
And they ended up making one of the scariest movies ever. And I think that is just kind of, it's heartwarming to people like you and me. And it's a great lesson that you don't have to have all the perfect tools. What you have to do is use the tools you have to the best of your ability.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
So that's really what stands out to me every time we watch this movie is, yeah, sure, I notice a few flaws here and there. I notice, her hands sticking through the latex gloves or using totally different actors for different characters, but they made it work. And they made it in such a way that those small flaws are really what make the movie what we know and love today.
Yeah, I agree.
So
100%.
That's what I thought.
And the staying power of Evil Dead is something that it's very hard to rival or even come halfway to. We made a short film inspired by Evil Dead for fun a few years back when my buddy Michael Rasso from the Film Photography Project wanted me to shoot some 8mm film as an example of the film stock he was selling. And we shot we called it Cabin Within the Woods, which was a play because Within the Woods was the name of the short film they made to sell Evil Dead to investors. They made on Super 8 film. It was called Within the Woods. And it's literally like a Ramo cam stalking a girl in a cabin in the woods who goes kayaking and stuff. It's
pretty great.
It was really fun.
But we fit the deer head in there.
We did. Well, we lucked out. We were actually in a hunting cabin.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a nice one, but a hunting cabin nonetheless. So yeah, we had the deer head there. So we were able to pull it all off.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, Evil Dead. If you haven't watched it in a while and you've just finished listening to us talk about it, if you're not already chomping at the bit to rewatch it, go.
Yeah, do it.
Especially since spooky season is upon us. And, whether you're a Weekly Spooky lifelong fan or you're one of the many, many folks who kind of join us for the last few months of the year because they want something spooky to kind of end a high note on, you deserve to watch a little Evil Dead.
You really do. And it's got nice fall vibes at the beginning.
Just at the beginning. But yes.
For the first 2.5 minutes.
Correct. And what it doesn't have is a real ghost story about a haunting at the cabin. So before we get out of here, we will be bringing you 2 episodes of Cutting Deep into Horror in October, possibly 3 if something happens, but 2 is the plan right now. So do you want to share what the next movie is going to be?
I actually kind of hinted at it a little bit through the episode. Because it's going to be A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Which is the first film to scare the ever-loving hell out of me that I remember. That is movie number 1. The first favorite movie I ever had, not just first favorite horror movie, first favorite movie I ever had, Freddy Krueger. For real.
I believe it.
I had an older sister, so I had all the tapes because they were hers, and then she became too cool. So they became my tapes. I'm not kidding when I say I was watching Freddy way too young because I got the tapes when I was 7 years old because my sister didn't want them anymore.
Yeah, that's pretty young.
Yeah, that's also I got all those R.L. Stein books I shouldn't have been reading because they were the adult ones. Well, the young adult ones, not the kids ones. So while kids were reading Goosebumps, I was reading Fear Street where people were dying sometimes. It was
explains so much about you.
You know what? You're right. I mean, when you're right, you're right. So, but I guess that's all then. We'll see you guys very soon right here at Cutting Deep into Horror on Weekly Spooky's feed. And remember, we air on Fridays. We don't know what Friday. You just never know yet. But we do appreciate you guys tuning in with us. So make sure to come back soon. Subscribe on your favorite podcasting app. And while you're at it, leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really helps other horror movie and scary story aficionados find the show by seeing that you guys love it. And if you love it a whole hell of a lot and want to support us in a very direct way, you can head to weeklyspooky.com/join. For as little as $1 a month, you get bonus episodes and over 5 years of exclusive creepypasta readings and audiobooks. So all I'm saying is, yes, join us at weeklyspooky.com/join. Rachel, anything else you want to say before we get the hell out of here?
Don't play that recording with the Book of the Dead.
I have it queued up right here.
Oh, no.
This is Rob Gronkowski
and Julian Edelman.
We invited some familiar friends to hang out with us at the Boston Nut House, thanks to Duncan. Here is a sneak peek at some of the fun.
Vince Wilfork.
Bill finally look, guys, just stop screwing around.
We are joined by Matthew Light, ladies and gentlemen.
And Vrabes, you're going to love him.
Will Campbell.
Not into eating hot dogs.
Having Ernie Adams come in teach you defense.
Being able to play the wide 3 technique tap.
Full episodes of Dudes on Dudes and Games with Names presented by Duncan. Tune into iHeart Podcast or wherever you listen to your podcast. Thanks to Duncan for a great time.